Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Evil Naruto Conquered the Shinobi Nation Part 2. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Chambers of the council. The three village elders and all the clan leaders sat at the round table, waiting for the Hokage to speak. The meeting had begun 5 minutes ago, and not a single word had been exchanged. Hiruzen was simply smoking his pipe and taking enormous puffs while sitting with his eyes closed. Then Hiruzen sat back in his chair and took one last pull from his pipe. Then he exhaled, clearing his aging lungs of white smoke. The things I am about to say may sound very crazy, but I ask that you all keep an open mind to what you are about to hear. We are ninjas, and the things that sound crazy are often true, from giant animals with enough power to destroy countries to flying old men. Everyone in the room experienced Hiruzen's stare as if it were a tsunami washing up on the shore. Kaharu ultimately lost patience with her teammate and longtime friend, saying, "Just spit it out already, Hiruzen. This is not something I can just spit out. It's a very important matter which needs to be taken seriously." Hiruzen replied. He cleared his throat and prepared to bomb them, saying, "But if that's how you want it, then so be it." Hiruzen said once again. Naruto Uzumaki is back from the dead. He is no longer the same blonde child that died those years ago. In his place is a man. I am sure you have all heard the rumors of a black-haired man going around with horns on his head claiming to be the Demon King. Well, I am here to tell you that everything you heard is true. All of them gazed at Hiruzen with wide eyes and shocked expressions. Even Heishi showed a little emotion. He also valued stoicism. Sume Inuzuka exclaimed, "What do ya mean it's true? Are you saying that Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is a demon?" She had a frenzied look in her wild black slit eyes. With a serious expression on his face, Hiruzen told, "What you hear is the truth. I saw with my own eyes. He showed me his memories." Come on, Hiruzen, of all people, you should know when you are under genjutsu. The boy is playing with your mind. If you can't see that, then maybe it's time you find a replacement. Danzo politely and quickly insulted Hiruzen. Rather than feeling angry or offended by the remarks, Hiruzen threw back his head in laughter. The Hokage stroked his stomach for a few seconds, and the chuckle sounded sarcastic and haughty. "I see you are still a comedian, Danzo. I could always count on your jokes to help cheer me up." On the contrary, Danzo was the target of ridicule rather than the Hokage. He suppressed his feelings and watched stoically to demonstrate that Hiruzen's remarks had no impact on him. But this is no joking matter. Hiruzen abruptly got serious and made it clear that he wasn't kidding by freezing his gaze. Naruto Uzumaki and anyone he hangs with is to not be taken lightly. That bodyguard always with him is the most dangerous. Curtis. He killed my Anbu protective squad just because they drew weapons against Naruto. Shikaku questioned intently, "Are we going after this man? Killing a whole Anbu squad is no joke, your protective unit no less." Hiruzen shuddered beneath his robes as the memory tormented him, and the black eyes of Curtis seemed to be watching him from the shadows all the time. "I'd like to, but someone like him is untouchable. He killed them all without me even knowing. Then showed me how he killed each and every one of them with a blank look on his face, as if it was all trivial to him. Keep in mind, this guy serves Naruto and calls him Lord. This makes me believe that Naruto is even more powerful. I can't even imagine how much stronger he is." They all fell still at hearing the Hokage's comments because the chamber was motionless and no one even moved, giving the impression that everyone had died. What their leader had to say. A man so strong that it frightened them all was frightening. What could they do if even the Hokage was this shaken? How were they going to defeat this monster? With Fire's will? This must remain a secret as the public cannot know of a Demon King walking among them, but I feel it is already too late. For Naruto is not hiding himself and walks the streets as if he owns them. Hiruzen continued. "I will be placing Naruto into our ranks as a genin under Kakashi Hatake. Kakashi will serve to monitor Naruto and report anything out of the ordinary." Heishi held out a hand and started talking. "Hokage-sama, is it really a good idea to place this demon in our ranks? If he is a demon king like you say he is, why would he lower himself to the bottom of the ranks? And what is Kakashi going to do? Yea, he is our strongest Junin, but from what you say, I doubt he will be much help." Inoichi responded. On the inside, he maintained a composed exterior. He felt anxious. Sakura liked Naruto as much as her older brother, and his daughter Ino spent a lot of time with her. Sakura would undoubtedly want to be around Naruto now that he was back. Ino would therefore be near Naruto. He couldn't have that, and he didn't want it. Not as a father, not as a Junin of this community. With everyone in the room gasping except for Danzo, Heishi, and Shibi, Hiruzen dropped the paper bomb, saying, I see what you mean, but Naruto wishes to become Hokage one day. Kaharu began to yell, hell no. No way in hell can that demon become the Hokage. Kaharu instantly grew silent as Hiruzen said, listen. Think about this, if Naruto is the Hokage, he can use the forces of hell to aid us if needed, while also bringing multiple nine-tailed fox demons with him. We could bring other nations to peace with this kind of power, don't you see? Danzo spoke, blinded by the opportunity. You can't really be thinking of peace with power like that, can you? The Demon King, more than one nine tails, and all of hell. We could rule the world, nobody could stop us. Ruling the world is not what this is about, Danzo, it's about making a better world. Hiruzen retreated. Having run out of things to say, Danzo got up and marched out on his cane, saying, your foolish ideals will bring this village to its knees. If you can't see the opportunity for dominance right in front of you, being the Hokage isn't meant for you. Danzo left the room without saying anything more, turning his back. As Danzo's statements shook up the tense room, everyone fell silent for a brief while. As everyone else departed in their own manner, Hiruzen's body flickered out of the room, saying, this meeting is over, take my words to heart. For now, we have entered into something far greater than we could have ever imagined. Leaning closer to listen to her son's reaction to her cuisine, Mebuki said, Su? How is it? The breakfast his mother had prepared was eaten by Naruto. After that, he smiled at her, which made Mebuki happy. It's delicious, just like I remember it. The women let out a squeal. I knew you'd like it. I bet you haven't had food that tasted this good in a long time. Mebuki seemed quite proud of this, and Naruto couldn't help but laugh. Well, I don't need to eat anymore. When I do, it's only for pleasure. But Albedo-chan makes some really pleasing food when she plays the housewife role. Sakura then asked Naruto a question. She overheard Naruto say that he had multiple wives or mates. She was still having trouble understanding that. Her brother had changed from being human to something else. What if she was the same? But that was for another day. Brother, what are the name of your wives? Naruto set down his fork and a red glow emerged in his fingers, calling his phone. I was wondering when you'd ask that question. Naruto showed them a picture of Asima, and the two women stared in amazement. I have 4 mates who are all powerful demons. My first one was Asima April, now Asima Leviathan. Mebuki inquired, how did you two first meet? This made Naruto smile nostalgically, and a few seconds later, he laughed. Well, she beat up Curtis while I was away. The two turned to face Naruto's companion, who merely sighed. The man clenched his hand and had fire in his eyes as he said, it's true, I was much weaker at the time. However, she doesn't hold a candle to me now. It was Sakura who asked the black-haired swordsman, why were you fighting? Rewind. A woman with long, snow-white hair that eventually turns violet says, hand over the stone of night. On the side of her face were 2 bangs bound with black bands. With its sharp features, including piercing cream-colored eyes, her face was the epitome of beauty. Skin slightly tanned, body trim and toned, warrior-like with feminine curves. Curtis prepared his greatsword and said, I'll never give it to you. This artifact will be used to take over this floor. It was gleaming black with patterns that looked like veins of scarlet. For I follow the future Demon King. Asima laughed menacingly. However, Curtis's remark evoked unpleasant recollections. Asima warned Curtis, her eyes displaying anger that was not directed at him. I used to follow someone too, but they betrayed me. You'd better stop following whoever it is or you're going to end up like me. However, he would undoubtedly be affected. She took a sharp black stick out of her white pants. It had a spot for her hand, but it lacked the guard, grip, and other features that a sword would have. She pulled off the black leather cloak that hung on her shoulders and held the blade hard in white gloves. A black long sleeve clung to her breast, emphasizing her feminine features. Then you shall die. She advanced in a purple haze, her blade pointed toward death. Not on your life. As the 2 demons engaged in combat, Curtis advanced in a golden blur. The ground rumbled beneath their power, and the magic emanating from these 2 could be felt for miles. In the distance, Naruto and Kurama stopped their killing of several demons in their immediate vicinity. Numerous avaricious demons were pursuing the Stone of Night he held, and they had been ambushed. Naruto smashed a red demon's head in his fists and said, that's Curtis. Who's he fighting so hard? Then he stabbed the other hideous beings attempting to encircle him with the horn he had taken from the corpse of another demon. Kurama responded to his friend's query by saying, It looks like someone very powerful. He is losing. Bad, might I add. They had to keep their friend alive, and Curtis was in danger. If we intend to arrive in time, we must depart right away, Kurama said urgently. Naruto's eyes were a terrible purple that shimmered, as he drifted up into the red sky. He clasped his hands together and pushed them out, then pulled them back and slid his palms against each other until they separated, his right hand hovering just a few centimeters above his left, already ahead of you. A thickly packed ball of chakra sparkled and jumped with electricity and fire as it hovered in his grasp. Dragonic art. Skyfall destruction. The chakra ball dropped to the ground slowly without making any noise. The jutsu struck the earth with a brilliant white flash. Since he had already been struck by that jutsu, Kurama understood better and sped up to outrun the strike. Others in the surrounding area were unlucky as the sound swiftly returned, followed by a loud clap that split eardrums and confused everyone. After that, the attack exploded and started destroying the surrounding region. It was too late for the demons to even prepare their muscles to run or scream. Naruto departed the demolished region and flew in Curtis's direction, saying, "There really is a beauty in destruction." When he got there, he saw the landscape in ruins. Pools of Curtis and Asima's blood covered the already red ground. His eyes narrowed as he saw Asima standing over Curtis, her black blade at his throat and her foot on his chest. The outcome that was to come all along, a struggle you put up, but it only served to slow down your defeat for a meaningless amount of time. Naruto addressed the floating fox next to him, saying, "Kurama, don't interfere." All Kurama could do was nod and let his fox maw snarl. The woman on top of him left Curtis speechless. He shut his eyes and came to terms with his impending demise. Not witnessing Naruto fulfill his dream would be his worst regret. Asima swiftly raised her arm, which was a shield composed of black hexagons. At that moment, it prevented her head from collapsing under Naruto's heavy foot. Naruto questioned, "Curtis, how did you let this bitch do this to you?" while maintaining eye contact with Asima as she stood back up. Curtis said, "It's her powers, she can control dark matter. The power she has is great." He then fainted from his combat injuries. With her blade aimed at him, the ferocious lady asked, "Do you have the Stone of Night?" Naruto's eyes were dazzling. He produced a stone the size of his palm and asked, "Do you mean this?" The jewel had black energy flowing through it, and it was the color of the darkness. The power it possessed was immense and could rival the demon lord's strength. Asima's eyes expanded before a rapacious expression took over her face. Then, moving quickly, she attempted to remove the stone from Naruto's grasp. The demon with the black hair moved aside, dodged a sword blow, and smacked Asima in the cheek with his left hand. Naruto put the stone back in his coat and pulled the dragon blade from his waist. "Are you after this stone? Well, too bad, because this power will serve to aid me in my quest to conquer hell. Why don't you aid me? Join me on my quest to conquer." Asima drew her sword and shield. Asima ridiculed the dragon in front of her, saying, "No thanks, I am already on the path of vengeance. I don't need some petty dream of a childish man getting in my way to ruin it." But this would be her undoing. Why hadn't someone warned her against poking a dragon in its bare scales? Well, see. Naruto moved forward, his blade seized by flames. When Asima raised her shield and attacked with her blade, he brought it down on her, and Naruto grasped it with his bare hand. He began to spin like a tornado and hurled Asima high into the air. Naruto immediately followed, slashing Asima with waves of magic. The woman regained control of the air and stopped all of the strikes as she realized the danger was imminent. Naruto disappeared from her view when she finished. Asima whirled quickly to see an arc of purple approaching her, and Naruto's faint mumble reached her eyes, radiant slash. Void cutter. Asima drew her blade horizontally across the air, and a black magic beam shot out of her sword. The air roared with the sound of the explosion as the two attacks met each other in midair. Naruto remarked, "Not bad woman, keep it up." He then launched an unblockable sword attack. Asima smirked as Naruto's blade rebounded off her shield, leaving him unprotected, and she used it to conjure a barrier around herself. Asima took this chance and stabbed Naruto, propelling him forward. Naruto appeared taken aback by the circumstances, and blood dripped from the corner of his lips. Asima chuckled as she pushed them to the ground, further harming Naruto. Asima observed as Naruto's body went slack while she twisted the sword in his chest and said, "Now die." There was a hand on her shoulder. "Why are you playing in the dirt? Are you choosing a place you wish to be buried?" Without giving it any thought, Asima simply whirled around and struck Naruto with a stab that released a black wave of power. Shadow clones, a jutsu the shinobi use, quite the move might I add. Aima jumped forward to play swords with Naruto, performing a death dance with him. Petty tricks. She discovered that Naruto was incredibly skilled with a sword because he sliced her body only slightly while she could hardly hit him. Dark Vortex. Naruto was struck by a black wind vortex that formed on top of him, causing cuts that vanished in an instant, flowing up to his neck and beneath his clothing. Were those red scales that protected his skin? Smiling, Naruto raised his hand and summoned the Eyes of Destruction, saying, "Watch closely, as the new Lord of Demons attacks." Ancient runes of a potent magic compound created by the Leviathans lay beneath his feet. Then he created something new and more devastating by injecting Jurist into the spell. Aima's heartbeat sped and her terror increased. She started to back away, saying, How, where did you learn such ancient runes? And are those the Eyes of Destruction? Her face changed from one of ease and confidence to one of instinctive terror. That could only mean one thing. Over the crackling electricity in his fingers, Naruto's voice bellowed, "Indeed, feel the spirit of the sleeping dragon you awoke. G. Noavis." His hand shot black energy as it sped in the direction of its target. With hardly any time to respond, Aima used her powers. She utilized the shield on her forearm to change back into magic as black magic formed at the ends of her fingers. Dark Twin Dragon. Aima's strike was simply destroyed as like it hadn't even occurred, despite the fact that the two attacks collided in the center. She screamed in excruciating pain as the lightning's fangs ripped into her skin, started to eat away at her body, and even attacked her source. "Ah, oh how your torment excites me." Naruto approached and let his enchantment wear off. His boot landed on Aima's chest. "So, want to join me now?" Naruto finished and sipped the juice beside him. "And she then joined up with me, and we've been together ever since." He concluded with a happy laugh, saying, "Nothing really, compared to how Kurama fell in love. I still laugh when I think about it." The mother and daughter exchanged strange looks as they tried to figure out how to feel. However, they would still be pleased for Naruto because he had discovered individuals he could truly love. Then Mebuki recalled that her children needed to attend school in order to be placed on teams. "Oh shoot, you guys have to get going or you're going to be late. This is a day you can't miss." As Sakura exclaimed, "That's right, we have team placements, brother," she was too thrilled to even push it back in. When Sakura said, "We have to hurry," she shifted like lightning to put on her shoes. Naruto went to the front entrance and pushed the chair in for her. His garments shone as he snapped his fingers, and a new, more appropriate outfit for a man of his size appeared. The color of his eyes matched the buttons on his shirt. His slender and well-defined chest was visible due to the top two buttons being undone. Tsunade had given him a green necklace, which hung in the center of his chest. His black pants are sleek and polished, perfect for dressing up. He was wearing brand new black loafers. "Now that I'm all dressed up, let's go." Mebuki gathered the two into an embrace and kissed each of their cheeks. "Have a good day and stay out of trouble, especially you, Naruto." "Hey, I am a well-mannered adult." Naruto simply shrugged it off, saying, "Mmhuh. Yay, tell that to your history." Mebuki led them outside and waved them away, saying, "Anyway, you to get going." The siblings were walking to school. Naruto sensed that someone was pursuing him. On the roofs was a ninja in a mask. 4 of them he could count. He had to smirk since his plans were starting to take shape. You line the domino up, knock one down, and they all fall in line. So Hiruzen finally told the council about me. Now they are spooked, and Danzo will try and meet with me. He will help nicely in this game between heaven and earth. Sakura observed the smile pulling at Naruto's lips and arched an eyebrow, asking, "Why are you smiling like that?" Naruto smiled and put his arm around the younger girl, drawing her close. "Well, I'm just excited I get to embarrass you all day." Sakura pulled herself away and glared at Naruto. "You better not." "I only jest," Naruto declared before making his way back to the academy to join a squad. He had never done anything like this before, so it was kind of exciting. Naruto got a lot of attention as he walked through the school hallways, primarily from the women because of his attractiveness and the fact that he essentially claimed to be unmarried and seeking a partner. Sakura would give them a savage glance if they attempted to approach. But the men were aware of Naruto's serious menace. He has the ability to gravely hurt someone in addition to stealing all the women. His broad shoulders, puffed out chest, and most importantly, the expression on his face, made his gait abnormal. Despite being a young man, he exuded the aura of a seasoned vet and something far worse. Naruto's arrogance was evident to everyone, and it was genuine. He looked like a chicken-fried aristocrat, but he was the real deal. "Say, Sakura-chan, what are you hoping to learn from our new sensei?" Sakura raised her head a little and, while still moving, developed a contemplative look. Sakura's response surprised Naruto because he was not prepared for this kind of response. Well, I'd like to hopefully learn a bit of medical ninjutsu. I'm actually really good at it, a natural genius, dare I say. Maybe some more jutsu to expand my arsenal. I really just want to get stronger, I just want some power in my hands. The kind that could make anyone kneel before me. But if she desired this, then so be it. He could provide her with this. Naruto ran a hand through her long pink hair and said, "Well, you're beginning to think like a demon, my little sis. You haven't been hanging around, have you?" Sakura's eyes grew wide. She wasn't sure how to feel, so she started to panic within. Did Naruto also imply that there were demons prowling the village? Calm down. I already know what you're thinking. Brother, I'm sorry. Naruto just put his arm over her and waved it away. He frowned and said, "No, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But I promise you, being like me will give you all the things you want and more. I can make whatever you want happen. I will be here to support you in your journey. There is more to being a demon than just evil deeds, you know." Sakura briefly lowered her head in disapproval at Naruto. He was her brother, there was nothing he would do to guide her down a path he had not already explored. Perhaps becoming a demon isn't all that horrible, as Naruto appeared to be doing well. However, only time would tell if she would accept Naruto's offer. Iruka waited in his place behind the desk as Naruto opened the door and saw all the children seated in their seats. "But here is the class, let's get assigned to our teams. I am actually excited. Wait till I tell the girls about this, they're going to have a field day. Especially Albedo-chan." The tan-skinned man immediately got up and straightened his clothes upon noticing Naruto. Iruka was a chunin and somewhat ordinary looking. "And Naruto, right? The Hokage told me you were coming." On his nose, there was a noticeable horizontal scar. He extended his trembling hand for Naruto to shake, saying, "I'm glad you and your sister could make it." Naruto grinned and agreed. "Why so nervous? You act as if you never met a demon before." Well, I haven't." Naruto let go of Ino and said, "Well, feel honored, your first meeting with a demon is the king himself. You can die a happy man now." The children stared at him as if he were mad as he ascended the stairs. "Ino-chan, good to see you again. Mind if I take a seat?" With red face and trepidation, Ino said, What? You want to sit by me?" "Of course, if that's okay with you." "Yes." With a smile on her face, Naruto pushed the chair to her left and sat down. "Are you as excited as I am? I wonder who my sensei will be." Ino sagged on the desk and said, "Yes, I am, but I already know who my team is going to be, and it sucks. I'm going to be teamed up with the lazy bum and his living pillow." From below, the lad with the pineapple hair remarked, "Troublesome girl, always running your mouth." "You shut it." Ino let out a furious cry. Sakura sat comfortably on the other side of Ino and asked, "Do you always have to be so loud?" Ino responds with crossed arms, "And must you always be so nonchalant? You should do that little death glare thing you always do. That will get him to shut up." Sakura answered, "I'll think about it. I just hope they don't place me on a team with Kiba. I'd hate to go rogue for killing him." Normally, the Inuzuka would reply with a remark, but for some reason, they remained silent. The aura emanating from Naruto might have been the reason that dared him to speak. From the front of the class, Iruka exclaimed, "Now that everyone is here, let's get started. First team will be." Naruto's enthusiasm persisted throughout the group tasks. The years had taught him a lot about patience. Team 7, under Kakashi Hitaki, Sakura Haruno. Naruto folded his arms in his seat and thought, "Kakashi, who was that again? I think he was the friend of that Obito fella. Well, we will see soon enough." Sasuke Uchiha. Iruka's words caused many girls to deflate and groan in protest. "Now Sasuke, I know, this guy was supposed to be my brother of some sort. I look forward to pissing God off even further with this child. I can already sense a great amount of hate and darkness in his heart, should be easy enough." And Naruto Haruno. Many children regarded Naruto with suspicion. What an odd coincidence. How did this new kid who showed up out of the blue get up on this team? Sakura stared at Naruto in astonishment and disbelief, unable to imagine how such a thing could have occurred. Naruto only grinned back at her incredulity. He concluded with a wink, saying, "Where there's a will there's a way." It must have been one of Naruto's spells from hell, but Sakura was just glad they were on the same team and couldn't believe he had pulled this off. "How did you recruit your attractive brother to join your team?" Gaping, Ino asked. Sakura said, her cheeks flushed, "Ino, don't talk about my brother like that. Naruto joked with a foxy grin, "Don't worry Sakura-chan, I won't steal your girlfriend." "Dude." As her face heated up, Sakura struck Naruto in the shoulder. When she went to try to apologize to Ino, Sakura saw that the girl's face was also a little crimson, so she immediately turned her head away from Sakura so she couldn't see. What's causing Ino to flush? If Ino felt the same way she did and didn't like Sasuke, then she had a chance. Does she? Sakura let the thought tumble off the cliff and dropped her head to conceal the smile on her lips. Naruto grinned nostalgically as he observed the situation. "Young love, did I act in this way too? Alright, everyone, simply wait for your sensei to arrive and collect you, and once more, teaching you all was an honor." Iruka offered the children a bow before heading out of the classroom, possibly never to see them again. As they flew out of Fire Country, Tsunade and Shizun were searching for 4 particular gods, which they needed to discover and destroy in order to continue the plot. At that moment, a golden light started to come from within the clouds, causing them to clump together as the sky flashed with blinding light and the stars appeared to shine even brighter. "Look, Lady Tsunade, I warned you against going to the Leaf Village." With a tone that was obviously annoyed, Shizun stated to her master, "Now the angels found us." She concluded by rolling her eyes and crossing her arms. "I don't even know why I bother, you don't listen to me anyway." Tsunade rolled her eyes and remarked, "Quit your bitching, they were going to find us eventually." She stared up at the skies, wondering who would be battling her. A tall, imposing figure, wearing a white one-piece garment with slivery gold armor plates on the shoulders, arms, and legs, donned white greaves that clanked on the stairs, and a grand lion's roar emanated from the clouds as he walked down golden staircases. A fully grown male lion made of golden light was walking by him. His eyes were a brilliant blue, his face was flawless, and his short, sleek back white hair gleamed in the sunlight. Tsunade laughed mockingly, "Oh, the king of the pussycats." Ariel said calmly and rather venomously, "And a filthy lizard. You've come to die, then." Then Tsunade started to change as dark brown scales started to emerge on her body before they grew to eclipse the surrounding mountains. A world of chaos shall soon spread. Tsunade rolled her neck and removed her green haori. "A little faster than we planned, but it will all work out." The enormous, thick dragon, with its rough scales and brilliant yellow eyes with black slits, was now flapping its wings in the sky. Tsunade could transform into this dragon form when necessary, and she was so large that she cast a shadow that stretched for at least 50 miles. "Dogda Asbadara," Tsunade said, steaming hot vapor exiting her mouth, "Now, let's finish you." Ariel had to move as quickly as he could to dodge Tsunade's blue fireball, which was shaped like a star. That strike destroyed a country on the verge of the Land of Fire, so it was a good thing he did. The strongest fire attack Hell had to offer was Dogda Asbadara, which Naruto used to destroy a different dimension while he was there. Tsunade, smiling in her enormous form, said, "Don't run now." She flapped her wings, causing strong winds to blow up, demolishing the mountains beneath them and causing the ground to rise. "It won't be simple, but God has faith in me. I must prevail." Then, full of energy, Ariel grasped a golden spear from specks of light in his right hand and said, "I exile you." He rose to his feet and aimed his lance down at Tsunade. At that moment, the clouds broke and there was a rumble. Tsunade roared in pain and rage as a golden pillar of light struck her, sending her enormous bulk tumbling to the earth. This gave Ariel the opportunity to put a stop to it. He clasped his hands together and called forth 1,000,000 lances, which then united to form a single, massive lance that was visible for miles. Shizuna was watching from the sidelines, still sitting on a tree, unconcerned, knowing that her master was just having fun and messing around, but she could feel the holy magic this creature was laced in, and she knew that if Tsunade got hit, this attack would hurt. A dark portal emerged in front of her, and Tsunade hurried through it, avoiding the lance that struck her area seconds later. Tsunade opened her jaws and let out a howl that shook the area and made the air shake in fear. Where did she go? Holy barrier. A barrier enclosing the area they were fighting in spawned, keeping all 3 of them inside. "Now that you are weakened, you can't fight me at full power anymore." Ariel enlarged his awareness for Tsunade, but he would take use of the opportunity to weaken her. "You're 10 times weaker than me because of this. By God's grace, I've prevailed." Twirling his lance in his palm, he threw it toward Shizun, who simply caught it with 2 fingers and hurled it back at him, Ariel, with more velocity. Shizun Sand said, "Focus," with a tiny, lethal smile. Ariel looked up to see a dozen meteor-sized balls of fire descending toward him as the sky darkened and magic blazed to his senses. Zola EDYPT. Ariel's body was encircled by red chains forged by demon power, and when he looked around, he saw another image of Tsunade smiling at him. Time to die. No. Let me go. I refuse to succumb to a devil. Ariel screamed at the top of his lungs, trying to shatter the chains with his magic, only to discover that it was being sucked into the chains, making them stronger in the process. Ariel's cries were drowned out by the enormous balls of fire that covered him as the attacks fell on top of him. Don't worry, we'll be sure to sing about you in the tales of Tsunade. Once more. Asbadara Dagda. It was fortunate that this area was protected by a barrier, since otherwise Tsunade may have destroyed the world with those attacks, so she fired off the enormous blue star one last time to make sure the idiot was dead. Only a crater in the ground and remnants of their magic remained as the devastation subsided. Rather than transforming back into her human form, Tsunade just shrank and flew to Shizun's arms, saying, "Now, I need a drink after that. Let's get intoxicated." To be honest, Lady Tsunade, I don't understand why Naruto-sama assigned you such a significant assignment. Aima is a far better choice. With stars in her eyes, Shizun remarked, she is strong, responsible, courageous, and always focused on the task at hand. She was thinking about one of her idols, Tsunade, of course. A tail then struck Shizun in the skull, saying, "Remember who you serve, I am stronger and equally wonderful," Tsunade shouted angrily. As the barrier collapsed around them, Shizun started to move. Yay, right, Aima-sama is beyond you, Shizun thought. You were heard. Sakura was engaged in some sort of training by Naruto while he, Sasuke, and Sakura waited for Kakashi. Are you certain this is working, brother? It's not performing as you stated? Naruto took the round black ball with a small hole in the middle from Sakura and said, yes, you just have to apply enough force from your chakra to push out the spike. Like this. Naruto sent his chakra into the ball, and suddenly a spike ejected from it. If you can't control the amount of chakra sent into the ball, it won't work, but you also have to apply the right amount of pressure from your chakra to push up the spike. After 2 hours of doing this, Sakura's voice strained to sound cool and collected as she said, "That's what I've been doing, but it won't work." To make his sister laugh, Naruto remarked with a laugh, "This is really child's play, even a newborn monkey can do this." Sakura glared at Naruto, but that only made him laugh. I don't know how I feel about being compared to a monkey. Uchiha, how about you? Do you want to test it? At last, Sasuke looked away from the window and glanced back, saying, "Leave me out of your little games." Naruto chuckled, "Oh, too cool for training are we?" When the ball magically materialized on Sasuke's desk, the boy turned to face Naruto and said, "Just try." HMPH. Sensing that Sakura's palm was sweating, the boy extended his hand and grasped the warm object, sending his chakra into the ball and waiting to hear the shink of the spike emerging from the hole. What? Nothing was there, and Sasuke had accomplished nothing. At the sound of his words, Naruto felt a kunai whip past his face and blast his hair. Not so good after all. Naruto murmured, "You'll never manage to beat Itachi with such pathetic chakra. Temper. Sakura stood up, drew a kunai, and gazed at Sasuke's dark eyes with her own emerald green eyes, saying, "You want to do that again?" Sakura gripped the sharp weapon menacingly. With another kunai in his hand, prepared to fight off Sakura if necessary, Sasuke glared at Naruto and warned, "Watch what you say, or it might be the last time you speak." What? He's missing his Sharingan. Well, here comes our sensei, tired of watching us, I guess, Naruto thought, astonished. Or is he not choosing to activate it? Their sensei, Kakashi Hitaki, entered through the open door. All right, everyone calm down. Kakashi's single black eye looked around the room, spotting 2 children about to fight to the death, and then he met the Demon King's eyes, those red eyes that simply told every cell in his body to run as far as he could, causing his chakra and soul to tremble inside his body. It's a grown guy, exactly as Hokage-sama stated. Not a child. Kakashi resisted the need to flee, but the Hokage gave him a job that he had to complete, and it was a very significant one. My first impression, you all are a bunch of misfits. The group was on top of the school building, and Kakashi reclined against the railing as the others rested on the steps. Okay, let's start with some introductions, shall we? You on the right, go first. Don't pretend that you don't know who I am. Naruto Leviathan Haruno is my name. I enjoy hell and its wonderful weather, as well as my friends, family, and loves. When the opponent knew less about you, they were more jittery and easier to manipulate. Things I hate are gods, and single-minded fools, Naruto muttered, leaning on his elbows, He could have disclosed more because neither Kakashi nor the town could harm him. Kakashi shrugged his shoulders and seemed not to notice, saying, "A little strange, but I don't judge. Next W." Naruto stood up, stretched, and said, "Why don't we save this for later? Come and test us already." "You shouldn't be aware of that. Have you been prying into things?" Kakashi smiled and inquired in a lighthearted manner. Naruto flicked his fingers and everyone was in training ground 7. "Who cares, let's go right now. Now, let's begin." How did he accomplish that? Was that a jutsu for teleportation? However, he just snapped his fingers without using any hand signs. Kakashi halted his thoughts and chuckled, saying, "Well, I shouldn't expect anything less from the Demon Lord." "Yes, Naruto. You are correct. A mortal mind could never fathom my power," Naruto said, grinning. Kakashi stroked his Junin flak jacket as if he was looking for the bells and said, "But you see, Naruto, I can't do the test because I don't have any bells." Naruto threw 2 jingling bells into the air and said, "Here. I guess I have no option," Kakashi said, dropping his head. "All right, so this is the bell test. To pass, you must all take a bell from me. You fail and must go back to the academy for additional instruction if you don't receive a bell. There are only 2 bells, so how can we all obtain some, Kakashi-sensei? Doesn't that imply that one of us is doomed to fail?" Sakura tilted her head in confusion as she spoke. "That's right, one of you will not succeed. We Junin are really busy, and we don't have time to teach some mediocre shinobi, as you may not be aware." Kakashi then threw the bells up and down in his hand, saying, "We only take the best of the best. You're attempting to pit us against one another, I see. How cruel." Naruto laughed. For some reason, this was all so much fun. Perhaps it was because he was acting as a puppeteer, acting out the entire town. As he smiled at Naruto, Kakashi thought, "He is incredibly shrewd, concealing information about himself and pushing me to play into his hand. But now we play by my rules. So we just have to ask you for a bell." "Easy enough," smirked Sasuke confidently. Kakashi fastened the bells around his waist and said, "Yes, it should be easy for you misfits. Don't hold back, you can attack me with anything you want. You won't get a bell if you don't arrive with the intention of killing." Naruto smiled and remarked, "Now that is exciting. You can all begin now. If nothing else, the other 2 are excellent at hiding. However, Naruto is able to sense them. You've been on this page for hours." Instead of avoiding, Naruto simply stood there, prepared to have his throat slashed open, as Kakashi's eyes widened and he spun with a kunai in his palm, aiming to stab Naruto in the throat. Naruto stepped back to get distance after Kakashi stopped inches from his throat. "How long have you been there?" "A moment. However, let's get into a battle right away," Naruto said, taking his hands out of his pockets. To check if the bells were still there, Kakashi felt on his waist. If they were, then everything was all right, right? When Kakashi noticed a swarm of kunai coming his way, prepared to leave him in a rather shabby state, he used one of his kunai to deflect them all and land on the ground. Kakashi had just dodged out of the way of a fireball from the trees. When Sakura rushed toward him and put her palm against his stomach, Kakashi grabbed her arm and pushed her away. He attempted to slit Sakura's neck, but had to stop her leg kick. Then, unable to hide his admiration, Kakashi was fascinated by Sakura's ability to keep him on his toes while fighting against her assaults, and she slid on the ground to escape Kakashi's hold before launching another taijutsu attack. After a last parry, Kakashi had Sakura in a headlock and said, "Not half bad for a civilian girl, I can see you really put in the effort. Go ahead, go forward, Uchiha," Sakura shouted into the woods. A fireball jutsu was approaching Kakashi. Surprised, Kakashi remarked, as to be expected. He can use a jutsu like that more than once. Naruto raised his index finger and a little ball of fire appeared on its tip. Naruto blew the ball of fire into Sasuke's jutsu, and the already massive ball of fire expanded to be more than 10 meters high and 8 feet wide. "Way to follow through, Uchiha, I'll finish things." "Wow." Sakura smiled nervously and dropped a tag from her pouch, freezing Kakashi and herself in place. "Brother, this is ridiculous. I am immobile. What happened?" Kakashi attempted to move but was unable to do so, and then Sakura vanished. "Damn, will Genin truly kill me?" Then, just before he could be struck, a shield encircled Kakashi, and the flames rushed to the barrier in front of him, eager to eat him in its cozy embrace. The barrier protecting him weakened as the flames subsided and the situation became more tranquil, and Kakashi exhaled. He had to look up when he heard bells, and Sakura smiled while holding the bells and remarked, "We pass." Well, I guess you do. Kakashi responded, but how did you guys do all of that? While you were reading your porn, we had come up with this plan to defeat you, replied Naruto. How did you find out about the idea, though? You claimed to have been observing me the entire time. Kakashi indicated what he believed to be a trap for the genin. A cloud of smoke appeared next to Naruto at that moment, and as it dissipated, it was discovered to be a shadow clone. This is a very useful tool. Wonderful, they all collaborated and devised a strategy to beat me. Congratulations, you all pass, Kakashi said, grinning at the three of them. Sasuke, Sakura, and even Naruto all worked together to pass. I have no choice. Hell, all of the leaders of the primordial families were seated in a large, royally adorned room inside the palace, a room that was only utilized when crucial meetings were to be uncovered. Since Albedo was the one who called everyone here, everyone sat at a large table in the middle of the room, waiting for her to begin. Albedo, wearing a white dress, began by saying, "All right, let me tell you why I've called you all. It has to do with Naruto-kun leaving Hell and coming back to the surface." "When did he depart?" Kurama inquired. "When did Uncle depart?" From atop Kurama's red hair, a girlish voice said, "He didn't even tell me." The 5-year-old black-haired girl sat on her father's lap and pouted cutely with her whiskered cheeks, looking like Kurama with red slit eyes and black fox ears with red tips, just like on her fluffy tail. Albedo calmly comforted the young girl, saying, "Oh, don't worry, little munchkin, Naruto-kun is fine." "It must be time," Anamichi remarked with a smile. "I am eager for everything to start." Kenny Shisora, a big, bulky man with dark skin, a fluffy afro of black hair on his head, golden eyes, and sharp teeth protruding from his lip, said, I do remember him saying something about taking over the world." He was dressed in a black trench coat that covered his entire body. "How long then must we wait for him to remove the obstacle containing us?" He narrowed his hazel eyes and crossed his arms over his black blazer, which also had armor the color of shadows underneath it matching his pants. "With his way of efficiency, I imagine things won't take long," said the tall, lean man with the smooth voice and short, deep brown hair. The Monkey King, Sun Wukong, leaned back in his chair and said, "Zedis, you know he's going to take a while." Sun Wukong, also known as Great Sage, was a monkey who resembled a human in body type, but you could still tell he was a monkey with all the hair and face. He wore a blue robe that hung loosely on his body. "Kurokami, exactly, would you please take it easy?" Anamichi chuckled as she waved the wolf tail behind him as if it were irritated. "Don't twist your tail." Albedo held a palm in front of her face and smiled, saying, "You two fight like a married couple." "But seriously." Albedo hardened instantly. "Tell your families to train harder because things will start to change for us and we will need strong warriors. Because our uprising against everything sacred will soon start," she concluded with a menacing smile, which everyone soon adopted. "Ha!" Sakura yelled loudly from Training Ground 7. Naruto stood slightly to the side and stated, "Okay, now brace for the return of your chakra. You've got to control it or it'll blow you away." His tone was patronizing. Holding onto what appeared to be a soccer ball but was actually a magic tool Naruto had given her, Sakura grumbled. It had the appearance of a translucent red crystal with the user's energy flowing through it. This was known as the channeling orb, a device that is frequently used to assist develop control and boost magical reserves. The idea was to throw all of your energy into the ball and then allow it to return to your body with 3 times as much force. In order to properly absorb the power, one's chakra circuits had to consciously adjust and change. Sakura's condition was not good. The technique was extremely painful because you had to maintain mental clarity and manage the chakras that flowed through your body while simultaneously supporting the sensation of your circuits expanding in real time. When the suffering became unbearable, however, Naruto would quickly throw a healing spell to rid Sakura of her injuries and immediately resume training. Sakura clenched her jaw and screamed before the chakra disappeared within her. Her body was blazing from the chakra rushing through her, and she fell to her knees and started to pant. Sasuke leapt behind him for shelter, but he was flung straight in front of Sakura, saying, "Looks like it's going to blow." "I'm not some shield, this is defensive training for you as well. I'd reinforce my body with chakra if I were you." Sasuke swore, followed Naruto's advice, and attempted to flee. Sakura, however, saw him and smirked icily before yelling into the air and exploding with chakra. The subsequent chakra release was enormous and rocked their training area. Naruto smirked at the sight despite the rushing winds that tossed leaves from the trees and blasted his hair into his face. Naruto said with pride, "In just a week, you went from pathetic chakra reserves to matching the Uchiha's reserves." Ent. Naruto used life magic, another name for healing spells, to instantly repair Sakura's injured body. Naruto turned to face the even worse off Uchiha, who was pouring through his clothes, and said, "I guess you deserve some praise, Uchiha. You survived, if barely." Naruto's gaze became reflective as he recalled his own near misses during training. That force must have slammed him into the ground and ruptured his inside. In fact, he had had to resuscitate himself after dying a few times. Kurama couldn't wait to use tailed beast bombs on him. Sasuke turned to his side and spat up more blood, saying, "Just heal me already." Naruto smirked and mocked. "Magic word. Please just fucking heal me already." Naruto cast Ent, laughing at the boy's red face. Playing with other people was a lot of fun, especially since you could always repair the issue. Just seconds after receiving potentially fatal injuries, Sasuke was back on his feet and in better shape. Then he squinted at Naruto, who appeared merely amused. "Don't do that again." "Are you complaining? You've also grown stronger this week thanks to my training. Shall I take it away?" Sasuke looked aside and crossed his arms, but he did not refute Naruto's assertions. HMPH. He turned away to see Sakura standing up again and flexing her hands. With obvious rage in his eyes, he snarled, "You," and began to sprint in the direction of the girl with the pink hair. Sakura remained silent and continued running in Sasuke's direction until they collided. They each punched each other. It was impossible to resolve the two's hate of one another with words or anything similar. What, then, was the most effective solution? Of course, duke it out. Sakura jumped into the air and landed with her leg outstretched for a leg drop that crushed her. "Heavenly kick of pain," she exclaimed. Naruto had learned the move from Tsunade. As soon as Sakura landed, Sasuke dodged and charged, landing two forceful blows to her jaw. Sasuke attempted a liver shot, but Sakura defended herself and launched her next blow with her incredible strength, knocking Sasuke off his feet. Sakura immediately caught up to him and delivered a number of punches, most of which were deflected. She put a foot behind Sasuke's leg, which made the boy stumble. Sakura then used her arm to clothesline Sasuke to the ground, which didn't go as planned but did the trick. Sakura's face landed on the young Uchiha's knees, which he utilized as a platform after grabbing Sakura's head. He then utilized his leg power to shove her off him, flipping up as he did so, and it worked. Uchiha Crescent. As he batted Sakura away with his leg, Sasuke turned like a spinning top. Sakura repeatedly rolled on the ground before hurriedly getting to her feet and attempting to give Sasuke an uppercut, which he barely avoided. Sakura sidestepped and ducked when Sasuke threw a hook at her, and he lifted his arm to block the powerful kick, which felt like a bag of cement being thrown at him. Sakura was punched with her own by Sasuke. The power struggle made both of them smile. Damn, her blows hurt like hell, and these moves she's using, Naruto must have taught her them because she was never this good, Sasuke was thinking. As their individual strength was noteworthy, the two felt a growing respect for one another. He's quick on his feet and throws accurate punches. I need to keep my guard up. Naruto grinned at the two children fighting and said, growing closer from conflict, power can always bring people closer, no matter what it is. Sakura hurried back into the fray, her fist cocked back. Sakura was easily blocked by Sasuke, who used his right hand to throw a blow to her gut and another to her chin. Sakura was not that slow, and she was able to step back and slip in 3 of her own blows on Sasuke, who grunted in pain as he rushed to apply pressure. As each was able to strike the other, they simply stood there launching assault after attack. Sasuke walked upstairs to strike Sakura's temple after cocking his head to the side and punching her in the stomach. Unfazed, the civilian ninja returned with greater strength and struck through Sasuke's defenses. He also descended low with a spin kick that knocked Sasuke off his feet. Sasuke was ready to dash back in, but he caught himself, until Kakashi intervened to break up the brawl between them. With an eye-covering smile, their sensei said, "And why are you two fighting? Didn't I say we were going to take a mission today? They've grown so much in just a week of Naruto's training. I will have to keep a closer eye on them, especially Sakura. Since she is Naruto's supposed brother, she will definitely take his habits and mannerisms. She already has displayed distaste for the village. With the Demon King behind her, no telling what might happen." Naruto thought, almost masking his laughter, "They're so scared, it's amusing. It was this pink loser, she tried to kill me. You just got in the way." They hissed at one another and butted their heads. Sasuke drew a kunai to illustrate his comments. "You want me to leave you in the dirt, huh?" Sakura hissed, mirroring his moves, "Why don't you try it?" Kakashi utilized some chakra and sliced the two children in the head, saying, "Okay, calm down you two. Naruto joined in, saying, just some team bonding, nothing to be so worried about. More importantly, why don't we go and pick up our mission? Great idea, Naruto. Let's go Team 7. Hiruzen sorted through the D-rank tasks on his desk for the squad and said, so, what mission would your team like today, Kakashi? We have dog walking, fence painting, babysitting, and some grocery shopping. Naruto had never taken part in a D-rank task. He smiled and left the office when he was informed he had to mow the lawn. Kakashi shocked the elderly man by saying, actually Hokage-sama, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a C rank. Iruka got up from his seat and screamed, what, no way. They just graduated, no way they're ready for a C rank mission. He was helping the Hokage distribute missions here. All of Kakashi's students, with the exception of Naruto, raised their heads in pride as he commended them, saying, that is true, but in just a week's time. They have grown to great heights. It's just a C rank mission. I will be there along with the Demon King after all. His words hold true, although Kakashi may slow the team down a bit. There can be no greater assurance for victory than to have me. As usual, Naruto exuded confidence. Even a little weakness would not be enough to hurt him. Nothing in this universe could. When attempting to defeat him, even the gods themselves would need to use caution. Kakashi asked himself softly, must he throw shade? Iruka took a seat again. Since Naruto was not human, it was impossible to predict what kind of strength the man could possess. Iruka also didn't want to cause a lot of trouble by being close to the Hokage. Being a powerful Junin, Kakashi would believe what the man said. Hiruzen grew reflective. Hiruzen went to the next pile and said, should I really send Naruto out of the village? Who knows what he might get up to without our supervision? It's just a C-rank mission. Whatever Naruto has planned, it couldn't be anything too dangerous or he wouldn't be bringing along Sakura. If the worst happened, this young girl, Sakura, might be used as leverage and even as bait. If things got out of control, Sakura and Mebuki might be deployed to get the boy back inside. Hiruzen finally made up his mind and seized a C-rank task. The third Hokage commanded one of his ninjas to bring in Tsunade. Sakura shouted, Mom, we're home, as she and her brother entered the house. Sakura said, and we've got a mission outside of the village, with excitement. Mebuki threw back a cry, I'm in the living room. Mebuki was lounging while watching TV when the two entered the living room. Curtis, wearing an apron, was cooking in the open kitchen. Mebuki got a worried expression. A mission outside the village? It's a little soon, don't you think? You've only been genin for a week and now you're heading outside of the village. After saying, it was Kakashi, he said we could take a C-rank mission now. Naruto settled down beside Mebuki. But he's right, however. This old drunk was lying about the details. Was he? Sakura cocked an eyebrow in question. Yeah, Tsunade says he just needs protection getting to his bridge. I could feel and see it in his eyes, he's terrified of something other than just bandits. Mebuki fretted and grabbed Naruto's hand, saying, did you tell Kakashi-sensei? I'm sure you will bring it up with the Hokage and maybe you guys can get a safer mission. All he could do was smile placidly and take Mebuki's hand. I've done impossible things, a simple protection mission is nothing. We'll be okay, I promise. Mebuki pulled back and turned to Sakura, saying, okay, if you say so. Are you okay with this? Sakura-chan. Sakura gave a firm response, feeling for her chakra once more and energizing it. Yes, Mom, I've grown stronger. I can handle anything that is thrown our way. Just beneath her flesh, it blazed and glinted blue. Curtis laid down one of the glass plates and said, shall I accompany you, my lord? Curtis flushed as the others chuckled as Naruto said, it's hard to take you seriously when you are acting like a house husband. But no, just stay here and run the business. Understood. Sakura stood up and went to her room to pack, saying, I'll leave to go pack. So, what are you watching, Mom? Sakura walked over to Ino's flower shop and fiddled with her backpack's straps. She had come to say goodbye to Ino and perhaps give her a quick embrace, so she was a little anxious. Now, however, the thought was causing her heart to flutter with fear and anticipation. Sakura braced herself and opened the door, saying, it's just a hug. We've done this before. Almost immediately afterward, the bell above it sounded, waking the half-asleep Ino. Ino rubbed the sleep from her eyes and said, forehead, what are you doing here? Sakura approached the desk and gave Ino a smile. I was coming to tell you goodbye. I'm going on a mission outside of the village and I might be gone for a while. As usual, Ino grumbled, what the freak? How come your teams get to leave outside of the village? It's not fair, it's not fair. Sakura crossed her arms and smirked, teasing, Maybe if you did a little training, you might get a C-rank mission as well. Ino ended up pouting and glaring as a result of this. Ino stepped around the counter to get a better look at Sakura, who was beaming at the compliment. Whoa, nice new outfit. When did you get this? Ino asked. Sakura replaced her previous ensemble with a brand new crimson kimono-style top from maroon that split off at the bottom. It featured her family's insignia on the back and white line around the corners. Long, silky black sleeves ended at her ring finger and encased her arms. She accessorized her bottoms with thigh-high shinobi sandals that resembled long black socks and tiny black biker shorts. Like, brother made it himself for me. I do, I'm jealous. I wish I had an amazing brother like yours. Sakura grinned affectionately at the memory of Naruto, saying, he is amazing, isn't he? He accomplished a lot in just 1 week and was incredibly considerate and courteous. Somehow, she would pay him back. Sakura responded, but I have to get going, Ino. Sakura went over and gave Ino a deep hug, tucking her head in her silky blonde hair and said, I will see you when I get back. I'll miss you. Ino instinctively gave the girl a hug in return, and raised an eyebrow at Sakura. Ino smirked teasingly and twitched her eyebrow, saying, you're acting pretty weird for just telling me goodbye. Is there something you want to tell me, Sakura-chan? Sakura let go of the hug and grinned as she walked out of the store, saying, shut up, I'll see you in a week or so. Tsunade and Team 7 were now on a dirt route leading to the Weeb, outside the settlement. They had barely been out of the village for a few minutes when trouble started to arise. On the side of the road, Kakashi noticed 2 tiny puddles of water. He looked around his squad to check if anyone had seen, but he was unhappy that no one had. Or maybe Naruto did and was merely acting as though he didn't. Naruto was interested to see their training put to the test in a genuine battle. Let's see how the two handle this. I'm curious to see it for myself. He had faith that Sakura or Sasuke could manage it. The 2 guys leapt from the puddle, just as the King of Demons had anticipated. Their claws were dripping with a linked gauntlet that was meant to chop Kakashi into tiny pieces. With a great tug, they wrapped the Junin up and converted Kakashi into a pillar of blood, sending his dislocated bodily parts flying. That's one. Let's make it 2. Of all people, the 2 renegade ninjas charged at Naruto. He could see their headband, which bore the Mist Village insignia, scraped away. Like with Kakashi, their chain was going to encircle him as well. They stopped and stared in disbelief when a shuriken nailed their chain to a tree. Sakura dropped from the top and used her exceptional flexibility to split-kick the 2 in the face. Her green eyes, which resembled a blank canvas more than a real human face, had that lethal expression. She appeared to envision her next victims as her green eyes dimmed. They immediately loosened their chains in response to the face kicks. The one on the left shouted to Sakura, "You're gonna pay for that, brat," before charging at her with all of his speed. After realizing, the other started walking in a zigzag pattern with his partner, confusing Sakura. Sakura was dismayed that this would be her first true combat, if you can call it that. "They're so slow, are ninjas really this weak?" she asked. "No, Naruto. Sasuke was more powerful than these men. Brother's training was really effective. The training of a demon breeds great results." After dodging a swipe, Sakura spun around and kicked both ninjas in the face. She moved swiftly and struck one ninja on the left with 6 straight chakra-powered blows. Soon after, he collapsed and clutched his chest before collapsing into slumber. "Gozu. You're dead." Sakura belittled the ninja in front of her with a mocking expression. "Was that his name? What a pathetic existence. Is this the best you can bring?" she asked. Blinded by his rage and loathing for the Pinkett, he charged instead of answering. Under the mask concealing his face, he grinned as he drove his claw into the girl's chest. "Nothing to say now. Die." He twisted, tearing his hand away from the genin with the wide eyes. For the corpse to be replaced by a log and go up in smoke, substitution jutsu. He screamed in agony and fell to the ground as claws dug into his back, but it was too late. Sakura was clawing at the man's back while sporting the poison-tipped gauntlet and a faint sneer on her lips. Worthless. Kakashi emerged from the bushes in pristine condition and said, "That's enough. I think you've done enough. She's so strong, but that personality of hers. She took pleasure in hurting these 2. Must be Naruto's doing." Sasuke was taken aback by the demonstration of expertise and felt a twinge of wonder. He was about to do something, but Sakura had already outwitted him. It was one thing to practice alongside the girl and spar with her, but it was quite another to watch her execute the strength moves so naturally against 2 ninjas. Sakura questioned, "Kakashi-sensei, who are these 2? I'm curious about the names of the two fools she just defeated. In response, Kakashi said, Gozu and Mizu. Two Chunin-ranked ninjas who are from the Hidden Mist Village. They went rogue some time ago and have been a pain ever since. Sasuke was once more astounded by his teammate's strength. She beat two Chunin on her own. If I hadn't seen it, there's no way I'd believe it. He would have to pay closer attention to what Naruto had to say if he could provide this much strength. He could definitely kill Itachi with that kind of force. Naruto tampered with Sakura's pink hair and said, that was phenomenal, Sakura-chan, what a great display of martial arts. She looked angrily through her untidy bangs. What's with that look? I give you a compliment and you can't even say thank you? Ha ha ha. Sakura wounded Naruto as she pressed her palm into his stomach. Sakura could only wave her hand back and forth as she withdrew it, causing pain. Ooh! She exclaimed. Naruto's laughter just grew more sarcastic as a result of this. Not even his own sister was immune to his derision. She grunted, thank you. Kakashi looked at Tsunade sharply and said, I'll leave these two here to be brought back to the village for interrogation. But in the meantime, why were those two eyeing you so much during that fight? Tsunade stepped back a few paces, gasped loudly, and held out his hands. I don't know, man. Maybe it's because they thought I was a handsome old man. Naruto took hold of the man's head and instructed him to stop playing games. EVIY. Said Naruto. This spell had the power to evoke memories from the past. Its inability to recollect deleted memories was its sole disadvantage. Naruto noticed that Gato was the one oppressing the Wave Nation. In an attempt to unite Wave with the mainlands and separate Gato, Tsunade was building a bridge so they could engage in trade with other people. To kill the bridge builder, Gato dispatched goons, but Tsunade repelled them and narrowly avoided death. Naruto distilled all he had just seen into Tsunade's thoughts. In short, this old man is trying to save his dying village by making a bridge to the mainland. But the CEO of Gato Shipping is trying to kill him. Sakura and Sasuke followed Naruto as he walked away, saying, so come on, let's go kill Gato. Ah. Thank you, Naruto-san. Tsunade addressed the Demon Lord with the utmost deference. I'm not really doing it for you, Gato just owes me something and I'm going to collect. Sakura was aware of people selling their souls to demons, so she asked, brother, did he sell you his soul? She wanted to know if Naruto could really accomplish that kind of thing. Naruto grinned sharply and said, yes, he did, and I believe it's time for me to go and take it. Then, before they could go too far away, Kakashi yelled out to them. He continued solemnly, hold on, this is something I don't think you are all ready for. These ninjas were Chunin, the next one will be a Junin for sure. Naruto directed his crimson eyes to Kakashi's single black eye and said, silence. Kakashi was unable to open his mouth and became silent when Naruto uttered this. Just a little bit of magic in my voice and you were quite like a mouse. I'm not a shinobi, and I don't fight like one. Your little human brain can't imagine the things I could do, the things I've done. Tsunade led the way as Naruto said what had to be said and started to leave. Kakashi remained there for a while, listening to what Naruto had to say. He's a threat, no doubt about it. And it also seems like he has some jutsu to recall memories like the Yamanaka. But he can control my body with just his words alone. This isn't good. The journey proceeded as usual, with Sakura and Naruto conversing and Sasuke and Sakura arguing a little. In addition to Naruto's occasionally amused laughs. One of Tsunade's pals had helped them board a boat and cross a small, foggy river. Their vision appeared to be obscured by the thickening mist. As though the mist didn't even exist, Naruto simply sent power into his eyes and continued to move. After around 25 minutes of walking, Naruto started to feel as though someone was observing them. Despite their best efforts, the person was unable to conceal from him, even though they were good by shinobi standards. They had been pursuing them the entire time, probably in anticipation of an opportunity to strike. Specifically, there were two of them. Naruto would take the wheel and engage in combat this time. As he tackled Tsunade to the ground, Kakashi stumbled and yelled, you all get down. Sasuke and Sakura collapsed to their knees. Naruto heard something hurtling through the air at high speeds, but he did nothing and remained standing. He saw the enormous sword piercing the mist with the intention of chopping him in two at that moment. When this blade came into contact with Naruto's strong skin, it bent itself, proving to be no match. Naruto took up the sword that was carved in the middle and said, I don't know, maybe throw it a little harder next time, you think? A dark-skinned man with piercing brown eyes appeared in the trees. Beside the two brown cow print straps over his shoulders, he was bare-chested and said, that's some body you got there, kid. I never knew my sword could bend that way. I'll repair it with your blood. Naruto grinned and slid the metal back into position, asking, is that so? Naruto threw the sword at the ninja who had bandages over their lips and said, here, take this piece of junk. You're going to regret that, brat, am I? The mist intensified as Zabuza made a ram hand motion, removing the cow print ninja's face. In order to pay in the bounty on Kakashi's head, he was hunting for a group of genin. Humorously, Naruto followed Zabuza's dark figure through the fog and said, say, Zabuza. I hear you are deemed the master of the silent killing technique. Is that true? As he watched Zabuza utilize a water jutsu to divide in two, Naruto received no response. And he let the copy to approach him and his group from behind. With a slight lift of the mist, Zabuza was in a striking stance, ready to kill them all with a single wrist movement, for good reason. Naruto had already put his hand through the clone's chest before Kakashi could strike and shield his terrified students. I hear you are also called the Demon of the Mist. But you're no demon. Just a fraud. Naruto grinned as he tore the water clone in half with his left palm in a display of strength. Naruto forced everything to be blown away by manipulating the wind. Naruto smirked at the man with the narrowed eyes and said, but I can change that. I like you. You're a monster. Killing a fresh group of genin as a kid, when you weren't even a genin yourself. You loved it, didn't you? That pleasure of snuffing out another's life. Their feeling of hopelessness. Zabuza smiled behind his bandages. This kid is insane. But so am I, she said. Zabuza poured his powerful bloodlust on them, turning the mist the color of blood. I did. It felt so good. Their parents looked at me with frightful eyes, as if I was going to kill them too. I've been stained my hands in blood. What can a snot-nosed brat like you do to me? Zabuza said. You will do nicely. I want you to join my religion, and serve the demon king of tyranny. Naruto Leviathan. Naruto said, using his own bloodlust to eradicate the surrounding forest and fully subdue Zabuza's. The species started to change horribly as Naruto's magic seeped into the air, twisting the place into something dreadful. Naruto could see the others on the ground behind him. He came to a complete stop when he saw Sakura's eyes quivering and turning bloodshot. A green magic mixture glowed beneath Naruto as she cast a healing spell, curing all of her adverse effects. Sakura, whose eyes were still stinging from fright, nodded in forgiveness as Naruto said, sorry, Sakura-chan. It's okay. I forgive you. Just don't do that again. I was terrified. Promise, I'll teach you a new jutsu to make up for it. Cool, you also have to teach me how to do what you just did. Naruto's lips curled in amusement as he looked away. Sakura had certainly changed from her former self. The girl had become heartless and aloof toward the outside world. She would undoubtedly wish to become a demon or something like in the future. This expedition will only support his argument that she ought to. Now, Zabuza. Come and fight. Naruto hit Zabuza in the face as he dashed forward with his big blade, missing the target entirely. This time, Naruto hit Zabuza with more than one punch, and Zabuza grunted before swinging sharply upward and hitting the air once more. After witnessing blood splatter Zabuza's bandages with his left arm, Naruto used his right arm to strike Zabuza's dome 3 more times. Zabuza clenched his teeth and said, damn, what are your hands made from? He moved swiftly and swung his enormous blade, which could kill in a single hit. Even though Zabuza knew he was good, he was unable to hit this kid once. In the meantime, Naruto's punches consistently hit with perfect accuracy. Naruto sneered, it seems I am too much for you. I'll handicap myself. I won't use any more physical attacks on you. Kakashi said, are you crazy? That's a Junin, bad enough you are fighting him alone. And advanced a step. But when Naruto turned around, it froze. Not to worry, fool, I am more than enough for this circus act. Zabuza pulsed his chakra at a wavelength that only the person he linked it to could understand while Naruto was facing the other way. Water style. Water torrent jutsu. Massive waves swept into the ground from the lake behind Zabuza, uprooting trees and flooding the area where fighting was taking place. Kakashi indicated the shadow clone jutsu with a hand gesture. After the clones appeared, he grabbed Sakura and Sasuke and made them leap into the trees over the pond using the 2 clones. Zabuza was swerving through his next set of hand signals when Naruto leapt into the air and peered down. Water style, water dragon missile. I can read your intentions clear as day. Naruto dismissed the water dragon with a simple flick of his finger that sent forth a wave of sound. You can fly. You're just like that old man. Zabuza yelled at the man with the raven hair who was grinning broadly. Naruto answered, you'll do well to remember that there is nothing I can't do. He sensed something behind him at that moment. A hunter corpse ninja dressed in dark attire and sporting a white mist and mask emerged from a light blue ice mirror. The individual created ice senbon needles in their knuckles and ran at Naruto with untraceable speed. When Naruto shifted to the side, they were unable to force them into his neck. It happened so quickly that the person was knocked back to the ground by a gust of wind. If they had struck at that speed, they would have turned into a splatter of blood on the ground. However, the person fell into another ice mirror that had formed behind them. They came out of a mirror on the floor beside Zabuza. Haku, what happened? Zabuza gave a furious growl. The guy sounded youthful and like a soft-spoken youngster. He evaded me. He's so fast that the wind from his simple sidestep blasted me to the ground. That's not possible, you are too fast for something like that to happen. But it did, you saw it. We'll have to think of something fast or we are both dead. Naruto said, done scheming. To them. Why don't you come down here and find out? If you insist. Naruto straightened his posture and crossed his arms. Prior to that, he controlled gravity and lowered himself as if he were a meteor being drawn below by gravity. He hit the ground so hard that it turned to debris, and then there was a huge explosion. That didn't kill you, did it? Beneath some huge debris, Zabuza threw aside the ice bubble that encased them. Zabuza attacked, his eyes blazing with bloodlust. You're too weak to kill me, he said. Haha. You amuse me. What great bloodlust you have. You'll make a great demon. Naruto was avoiding Zabuza's blows with ease, as if he could see them coming before he even executed them. Ice style. Ice rainstorm. Naruto was crushed by enormous ice shards that dropped from the sky. Naruto looked up and saw that the boulders were blocking the sky. He merely clapped his hands, and the force blasted them all away. Sakura yelled, "Brother, look behind you," from Kakashi's arms, which were preventing her from leaving. Zabuza phased straight through Naruto as he vibrated his body, saying, "Not to worry, I see him." In order to get through obstacles, Naruto and each cell in his body could vibrate at a distinct frequency while moving at high speeds. Haku, holding a senbon, exploded from the ground beneath Naruto before he could execute his next move, preparing to stab him in the neck. With his magic blowing both ninjas away, Naruto buffed out an amused chuckle. "It's best you don't make me laugh or I'll kill you from laughter." The masked ninja said, "Zabuza-sama, we should flee. We cannot beat this man. He hasn't used any physical attacks just like he said, but yet, he's still defending and attacking us." Zabuza got up to say, "No way, Haku. This bastard is going to pay for making a mockery of me." With a sad tone, Haku murmured, "Forgive me, master," prior to piercing Zabuza's neck with 2 needles. He glanced at Naruto, who was merely standing distantly. "We shall settle this next time. I'll allow it. You can flee." Soon later, Naruto saw the ninja fall back into an ice mirror after using one-handed seals. That guy could beat all of you with no difficulty. He just used one-handed seals, which is a feat on its own. Zabuza also could have given you a lot of trouble, Kakashi, and if you were not careful he might have even beaten you. Kakashi jumped back down to Naruto's level and asked, "And you know this how?" "I got a good read on their power while I was fighting them, and it's safe to say, if I weren't here, you guys would be in trouble." With his arms crossed and his narrow black eyes that resembled an empty night sky, Sasuke questioned, "Then what are we supposed to do? Run away?" In response, Naruto placed his hand over Sasuke's head and gave it a strong rub. "We're going to get stronger, of course. You're going to learn water walking and also a new jutsu." Kakashi raised his hand and interrupted, saying, "One problem with that. I didn't teach them tree climbing, so going straight to water walking will be a little much? We practiced tree walking during the week, even though you were always 3 hours late." Sakura's tone was blatantly angry as she gave the man a death gaze. "I see." A smile came to Kakashi's eye. "What a great use of time. Good job." To their west, Naruto's head snapped. To get a better view, he sent magic to his eyes, and his observations. A demon was involved. They were in the path of a swiftly approaching demon. It was only a few seconds away from reaching their destination. Naruto was about to exclaim, "Listen up. There's a powerful when a meaty dark gray hand pierced him through the chest. "No!" Sakura exclaimed, horrified and terrified by what she was witnessing. Sakura's expressions were comparable to those of Kakashi, Tsunade, and Sasuke, who all had wide eyes. What was it? And from where did it originate? The animal's mouth, which was lined with jagged, sharp rows of fangs, released a low growl. Covered with a second layer of skin that extended up into large horns that protruded from the sides of its head, it lacked all the characteristics that a face would have. They looked like huge scythes with tips that could surely split anything in two. There was only a little black pupil floating in the midst of a diamond-shaped hole in the middle of its head that was entirely crimson. It had large arms and legs, rough skin for horns, and an even larger reservoir of magic energy. It had no hair or other body parts. Gazing up at the imposing foe before them, Kakashi and the others retreated a step or two. Tsunade even went limp on the ground after passing out. He was having a hard time stopping himself from sprinting. Nobody moved hastily, but first and foremost, he had to preserve his squad. Sakura and Sasuke, at the very least. Even though blood was streaming from Naruto's lips, he continued to smile at the demon in front of him. "You are pretty strong, I must admit. You managed to crush my heart." He used his powerful boot to kick the creature away after chopping off its arm with his hand in a display of strength and quickness. The arm found a home in the thing's chest, and Naruto grabbed it and hurled it back where it belonged. "Did you think crushing my heart could kill me?" Naruto's amazing regeneration caused him to rapidly recover? Sakura asked with relief as tears filled her eyes. "Naruto, you're okay." Naruto rushed to confront the demon in his path and conjured a barrier around them, saying, "Just stay back, this won't take long." His chest was smeared with blood, and his elegant button-up was now holed. He continued to stroll, however, unconcerned. The devil rose from the floor, tore the arm from its own chest, and then devoured it. They could all see the blood splattering on the thing's face as the bones in its arm snapped loudly, and it smiled. As its arm returned, it appeared that this demon was also capable of regeneration. Swirling black flames started to cover the demon's right hand. As it launches its attack at Naruto, a magic circle appears on its arm. Naruto's palm was covered in black particles as he launched his assault as well, Kuroike. When the two strikes clash in a display of demonic strength, black meets even blacker. Their region was completely destroyed, reduced to ashes, and the woodland was reduced to a wasteland. Kakashi looks on with a stunned expression behind the shield. Impossible, from just a single attack. Naruto's barrier around them was the sole reason they survived. The dust from the last explosion is blown away by the sound of a huge explosion. The demons collided with Naruto's fist as a swirling black mass enveloped his hands. However, Naruto discovered that the entire base of his left arm was covered in burn marks that peeled at his skin, demonstrating the monster's exceptional skill over flames. Naruto smiled up at the beast that was staring at him with that one eye, and the harm was insignificant. Naruto struck the beast by the chin, causing its head to snap skyward. "You are mindless and are not from hell. So where did you come from?" Naruto said. Before kicking the creature away and caving in its stomach, Naruto whirled around on his feet. As Naruto pounded it with a flurry of fists, the beast rolled and bounced on the ground, taking further damage. Naruto continued attacking the beast while he spoke, saying, "You are strong, too strong for the normal demon that walks the earth. Your body and source. You are pure magic energy. A beast born from magic and evil." When the beast opened its jaws and threw flames at Naruto, he leapt out of the way, causing the ground to turn into molten lava and sink into the earth. Naruto swooped forward and smashed his hand straight through the creature's chest, saying, "I see now, you were just born from my magic a little while ago. That's why you are so strong." In a magnificent display of strength, Naruto utilized Geo-Graze to create 6 balls of enormous mass, which then blasted into the demon. "But still weak, bow to your king." The monster was reduced to ash by the magic. A tiny ball of blazing flames floated from the charred body. Using his magic, Naruto drew it to him and put it in his mouth. Since his magic created this demon, it was naturally powerful enough to give him a strength boost that was perceptible to his senses. Naruto's red eyes glinted with evil intent, and he smiled slyly. If demons can spawn from just magic alone and create their own source or even form consciousness, this could serve to really stir up chaos. They won't know me as their king, but their sources will, so they will be hesitant to act. But I want to have fun too. So how about I place an open challenge on myself? I know, my title is Demon King. Their desire for power will increase as a result, and they will stop at nothing to earn his position. Naruto would save his throne for his children and would not give it to any of them. He alone owned the demon world. He was tyranny's demon king. And there's a reason that distinction was gained. Later, he would present the concept to his friends. Perhaps they would laugh at this as much as he did. The notion of contesting for the throne. Did Albedo feel this way when he was vying for her position? It would be entertaining even if he would ultimately prevail and the throne would remain the same. Holding the universe in his palm, Naruto carried out his plan by letting his magic spread over the planet. Just like that, he might crush it all. Not yet, though. There were still lives to wreck and joy to be had. Demons of various sizes and forms began to appear out of thin air. Some were humanoid forms, large winged birds, or enormous sea monsters. As demons were born, Naruto just submerged the earth in darkness. Demon slayers hurried out of heaven's clouds, prepared to battle the forces of evil. Kakashi screamed, "Naruto, what did you just do? Spread my influence." Sasuke took a breath and continued, "Can we start the mission now? I need to take a moment to collect myself." This stuff was insane. His initial mission included all of this. A C rank was the intended designation. Haku and an unconscious Zabuza sat in a clearing deep in Wave Country's woodland. As Haku performed his medical responsibilities, he listened to the gentle, heavenly chirping of the forest's birds. The man's bloodshot eyes sprung wide as Haku was ready to remove the bandages from his master's neck. With a gasp, he leaned up fast. "Gah, Haku. You are brutal as shit." With a groan behind his mask, Haku withdrew his hand. "Says the one yanking out the objects which could kill you." All Zabuza could do was turn his frenzied eyes toward him and growl. "How long are you gonna wear that shit? It's pissing me off." Always the grumpy one. Haku revealed a handsome boy when he removed the mask, whose large, compassionate eyes evoked a starless, empty space. "Don't apply so much stress to your body, we received quite the beating a couple of hours ago." Zabuza wanted to burn the ground, so he gazed daggers into it. They were both prime in strength, thus Zabuza was struggling to make sense of the situation. That guy? He was no brat. Someone in their prime, like me. It was the most humiliating defeat the Demon of the Mist had ever experienced. He had not been that severely thrashed, not even by Yagura, that crazy turtle. The elemental nations had to endure the fury of the two demon worshippers fighting, destroying the villages, and innumerable massacres. It seems those rumors aren't rumors after all. A new religion serving the demon king of tyranny. If anything, it's causing the Jashinist to throw fits. Zabuza spat blood from his lips and spit onto the ground, saying, "That's crazy. An actual demon. The demon king of all things. But it makes sense. You saw his horns and witnessed his power. I think it's best we leave this mission and—" "No." Zabuza abruptly interrupted Haku. He was a rouge ninja who took jobs for money, and his pride was irreparably damaged. "I was humiliated. I'll show him terror." He had very little to be proud of. However, this loss would not tarnish his reputation. Furthermore, he would never be viewed as a coward. Haku, however, had a query. Haku was positive that Zabuza would be considering the demon's proposition. "What are you going to do about his offer? I know you're thinking about it. With that kind of power, you can realize your goal of becoming the Mizukage and ending the war." Haku got it right. Indeed, it was Zabuza's thought. "You're right. I could do anything with that kind of power. But what would it cost? You'll have to ask him yourself." But he seemed like a prideful man who doesn't rely on the strength of others. That was very evident. When confronted with both of them simultaneously, Naruto displayed no fear. In order to make things more equitable for them, he also limits himself. He was obviously proud of his own strength. "It's best to think of the basics first. You will have to serve another, become a literal demon, go to hell, be ostracized by others, and never find peace in death." Under his bandages, Zabuza smiled, knowing full well what lay beyond death. So really, no changes. He might as well make it official because he was already called a demon. He was worried about Haku, though. What was in store for the boy? "If I do this, Haku will follow me. He would make it to the pearly gates, unlike me. I don't want him to give up any more happiness. You need not concern yourself with me. I will follow you, Zabuza-sama. I am your tool after all." I wasn't worrying about you. I was thinking about how I would kill a literal demon." Lightly, Haku laughed into his hand, which made Zabuza detect the jeering laughter and pin him with a look. Naruto's point of view hell was indeed hot, crimson, and roiling with screaming, as the caricature suggested. However, that wasn't the case everywhere. Down here, there were some quite serene spots and striking scenery. That was outside the tower, which was entirely distinct from this tower. All the devils resided in hell, which was just like any other globe with nations, cities, states, and villages. Because the skyscraper was composed of 9 tiers, it was a distinct universe inside. I had now reached the 6th level, where I intended to stay for a considerable amount of time. I had to remain here in order to strengthen myself for the 7th layer of hell, which was violence, for one reason. Fiends, killers, war mongrels, conquerors, and powerful animals were all present there. It was divided into 2 halves, from what I understand. Why are green and purple hues used? I'm not sure. One thing I did know, though, was that I would take both sides to task. They were combined to form the army behind me. I also couldn't avoid the demon lord of that stratum, who I'd heard was a human. The 3rd strongest demon lord of this tower was a very well-liked one at that. I therefore required a sizable force to overthrow both groups. Figures that are in the millions and higher. However, I had not yet been on that floor and would not be for some time. I was now in the region of heretics and flaming tombs, Hersey. There were no mountains or anything like that. It was flat. Only larger lava lakes and hills. The rough, wide terrain before us was teeming with monsters. Another army, undoubtedly led by the demon lord who occupied this floor, was also in front of me. Another reason I would be staying so long was because of her. I really wanted her. I admired her authority and her values. She preferred things to happen naturally and detested Buddha and holy miracles. Like me, she was a military enthusiast. A loyal demon lord who has continued to gain strength and enhance their realm. Despite her strictness and haughtiness, she was respectable and, above all, righteous. Possessed a secret rock star side as well. The Black Dragon was aware of my intense desire for her. She was not just beautiful, wicked, and cunning. I desired to own her. Nobunaga would definitely cause me problems and be difficult to crack. Hell, as soon as we stepped into this lair, I was in trouble. Millions of her warriors, all decked out in fine uniforms, stood before me. As they aimed their diverse array of weapons at me, they were not knights but rather soldiers. Guns, swords, missiles, demons, and powerful demon monsters are among them. Her army receives a 4 out of 10 from me. Where was the respect? She could at least try a little harder. Next to me, Kurama sighed and dragged on. We literally just got here. They didn't even let us take over yet. He had a ferocious mane of hair and was human. Curtis stepped on my left and gripped his demon sword, saying, "She's definitely heard about our victories and no doubt thinks taking us out on sight is the best way to deal with us." I knew he could defeat this army without being touched, so I let the man fight it alone. Keeping my gaze fixed on the massive castle in the distance, I asked my beloved partner, Asima-chan, "What do you rate this army of hers?" 4 out of 10. She answered in a hurry. She had changed into our army's uniform. She just followed my instructions as their second in command. She was dressed in form-fitting black armor instead of white. She wore armor leggings with hills fashioned into them. Additionally, she wanted to stand out among the army. Using fur from the deluxe beast of the underworld, I created a white and gold cloak for her to wear on her shoulders. Our soldiers prepared their own weapons after Asima aimed her new weapon at the enemy. It had a more rounded guard and was now golden, although it still resembled a stick. I wanted to say something before we got started. My magic carried my voice all the way to the balcony, boasting, "Nobunaga Oda, I am here for you and your throne. There is no stopping me as I will advance until I reach your castle where you and I will battle." I used my demon eyes to observe her observing. "I respect you greatly, Leviathan. Which is why I won't hold anything back against you. Fight, advance, and reach me in the end. We will battle and I'll show you my real power." She used telepathy to transport her voice straight into my head. Although I was unaware of her ability, it won't stop me from fighting this battle. "Nobunaga, you have a lovely voice. Please repeat it for me. You are an avaricious man, foo-foo-foo. I enjoy it. Let's have a drink together after this." "All right. My treat, I take pride in pleasing my mates any way they need." "Mate, you want me to do as you please? Of course." "You are foolish. It pierced the air and the barriers I put up with ease, and if I hadn't frozen time on it, I would have a hole in my head, but even that wouldn't stop me." A bullet was fired, and it halted directly in front of my head. A towering demon with lean muscle and projecting bones from all over its body, mostly in its back, a beast descended from the red sky and destroyed several of the troops in its path. From this vantage point, I could see its skeleton, which contained just fire and no internal organs. It had an open mouth with rows of sharp, bone-breaking fangs, and 3 crooked horns that protruded from its head. Its eyes were sockets of orange fire. "You mean a warlord demon?" Still not impressed by the strong demon, Kurama folded his arms. This was the 3rd strongest of its kind, with the ability to destroy the entire floor, which served as a realm, second only to the demon lords of the towers, whose strength was tied to the floor. In any case, that is what these floors are. dimension imprisoned within Lucifer's tower. The first warlord demon suddenly fell next to 5 more, and I grinned and said, so this is where the other 5 were. Aima echoed my face, growing more prepared for a hard-fought and brutal struggle. I didn't think they'd ever work together. Well, I give the army a 6 out of 10 now. She ought to have brought the others here. Nobunaga was a very strong woman, and if she could subdue them, it would be like subduing a demon lord. Shall we not squander any more time? I held up my hand, prepared to strike, but Aima put a delicate hand over mine. My lord, let me. She was too nice, and with that expression on her face, how could I say no? Don't dirty your hands with these bottom feeders. Finish the battle in less than 30 minutes and I'll give you a reward. 10 minutes will be enough. As confident as ever, she responded to me and proceeded to the veranda. Go ahead. A variety of spells and bullets were fired by my dark-armored army, while some simply charged into the fray. A laugh escaped my throat as I witnessed the devastation as my troops tore them apart in a combat that lasted no more than 7 minutes. Finish Pav Sasuke's leg trembled as he took a few more steps before falling behind Sakura, and Naruto turned to find that Sakura had fallen into the water, further soaking her garments. Sitting with his legs crossed on a white and blue couch, Naruto drank from a little sake cup that Tsunade had given him for his birthday. I told you two to take off your clothes. I'm not stripping in front of 2 boys. Like there's anything to see. If you keep talking, I'll drown you in this lake. Loser. Naruto's power carried them back, pushing the 2 away as they nearly got into a fight after climbing back onto shore. You 2 fight like hungry dogs, Naruto said. Shut up. They exchanged angry looks before returning to their work. Is there anything you could do to help? Sakura inquired. Control is all about focus, Naruto said, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. Before a storm, there is always a period of calm. So I should first relax my chakra? His younger sister inquired. Naruto waved Sakura onto the water with his cup, saying, answer that question yourself. Following the instruction, Sasuke attempted to calm himself before stepping onto the water, which was easier said than done because his mind was constantly racing with negative ideas. However, after taking a few deep breaths, Sasuke took his first step onto the water and encountered no resistance. He continued to take steps till he was walking on the water, and it was working because his feet stayed afloat and he was able to relax a little. Upon turning his head, Sasuke saw Sakura sprinting on the water, occasionally nearly slipping but catching herself in time. This isn't too bad now that I think about it. Sasuke kissed his teeth and accelerated his pace till he felt comfortable after she gave him the finger while smiling like a devil at his wide-eyed gaze. Naruto smirked as he ordered the lake to create waves of different sizes, transforming it into a wave pool. Since you 2 seem to be able to crawl, try walking. Hold on. Sakura started to tremble uncontrollably and yelled hysterically. Sakura didn't last much longer, as one of the waves spit her out, and she was hurled onto the hard ground, while Sasuke dropped first and was washed ashore seconds later, panting for air as the powerful waves thrashed him around like a ball. Seems you have some work to do. Sakura sprang up and scowled, saying, you keep tampering with the water. You could see that I had it. Naruto chuckled as she was like a wet kitten, soaked from head to toe in water, with a red tent covering her face. Her rage was adorable. Naruto recalled his training with Kurama and Anamichi, saying, this is nothing. I learned to walk on lava with hungry demons trying to eat me whole. The training they received literally killed them. Well, aren't we not demons? Sakura placed a hand on her hip and gave him the look their mother taught them. How about that? Come with me, Sakura, you keep training Sasuke. He rose up and made the couch and beverages vanish. Sakura nervously followed Naruto as he began to walk into the jungle. It was fortunate that Kakashi was off protecting Tsunade because it gave him the freedom to do as he pleased. If Naruto intended to do anything drastic, it would be a huge mistake on the Leaf's part, but the man was cautious and had left a shadow clone to keep an eye on them while he was away. The clone eventually vanished after deciding they weren't doing anything. When they were sufficiently deep, Sakura and Naruto stopped, and Naruto turned to face Sakura gravely, saying, I'm sure you've realized what's going to happen. I am aware that it has been on your mind. Sakura turned her head away and fiddled with her fingers, saying, yeah, I have. Before I asked anything about it, I wanted it to be just the 2 of us. Does this make me a horrible person or evil? She turned to face Naruto, anticipating a candid response. That inquiry is really annoying all the time. Are you asking yourself that question? Or to avoid rejection from others? Do what makes you feel the most fulfilled in life, the profound question said, sending a shockwave through her head. What you really want is up to you to determine. Thanks, big brother. Sakura moved and gave Naruto a tight hug as the words helped calm her anxiety and brought a spark of relief to her eyes. Here to help. Naruto gave her a hug in return, grinning and giving her a head pat. So, the answer is yes? With a step back and a nod of approval, Sakura said, yes, I want to become a demon like you. Before she had a chance to reconsider, a magic circle appeared beneath her feet and began to pour white continuously. This was before Naruto sent his magic into the formula, altering it at its source. A converting spell that changes things to suit his own purposes. It was best to keep Sakura from preparing or thinking about the suffering that was about to occur because the circle flashed a royal purple, grew larger until it was three-dimensional, and started to circle her. Suddenly, light surrounded Sakura, followed by her excruciating screams of anguish. This source and magic, She was transforming into a demonic dragon and receiving my mana, so I knew she would emerge powerful. However, this is even more than I had anticipated. Clearly, there was more going on, something that even he was unaware of at the time. He could already feel the frantic demons flocking here, but he should really do something about all this mana leaking into the air. Sakura was unleashing unchecked magic into the sky, which would undoubtedly draw frenzied demons. Practice for the new demon that would soon be born. The magic formula surrounding Sakura dropped, revealing a slightly changed version of the girl, most notably the new horns popping from her head, placed directly above her now long and pointed ears. Sakura's horns were not black, but rather a constantly shifting color between orange, red, and dark purple. The screams subsided and were replaced by booming, crazy laughter. Beneath her eyelids were golden marks that appeared to be sage pigmentations, and her emerald pupil transformed into a primitive slit similar to Naruto's, while the whites of her eyes turned black. Upon birth, the demonic eyes of destruction appeared, as one might anticipate from a demon I created. Sakura clasped her hands and felt the force pulsing through her, saying, "This feels amazing. You've created quite a stir. There are demons everywhere in this place. What markings are these? Have you placed them here?" Sakura traced the marks on her hand with her clawed fingers. Naruto put his hand in a portal and stretched out to the girl, drawing a demon sword, saying, "No, but we can talk about it later. Take this and go practice." Sakura grinned broadly at him and blasted into the air, saying, "Not needed. Kids." Sakura landed, destroying the ground beneath her boots as her emerald eyes glinted around the forest, which was surrounded by trees, making it difficult for her to see any of the demons she sensed were present. Rather than searching for her victims, she unleashed a powerful spell that obliterated her surrounds in a dazzling display of light that could be seen for miles. Sakura's vision filled with fire as she released an unsteady amount of it, enough to burn down a village. Demons soon tricked the burning landscape, and Sakura became ecstatic at the prospect of a slaughter that was about to happen. It started out as a chuckle and developed into a ruckus, mad-filled laughter. Sakura licked her lips once before running to the first beast she saw and blasting through it and all the others behind her with her fist out, leaving her body covered in blood and holding the demon skeleton. After a few seconds, she smashed the bones and used her clawed fingers to swipe at the air, causing a bright arc of green to emerge from her actions. Many demons were sliced in half, and the next second, Sakura was on them, tearing, slicing, and pounding the monsters to death. Behind Sakura, another demon appeared out of thin air. It was humanoid and feminine, with short orange hair framing its expressionless face and pale, almost white, skin. The woman tilted her head curiously, and her squared black eyes seemed to hunt for something. Sakura kicked about, expecting her feet to land, but she felt a fist hit her gut, causing her to slide on the ground. "Are you strong?" Their tiny lips parted to let Sakura hear the bewildered voice as they questioned. Sakura gazed back into her empty black eyes and said, "Come and find out." Sakura grabbed her throat and, grinning wildly, threw strike after hit into the face of the person who had just materialized in front of her, only to have their outstretched arms severed and fall to the ground. The explosive strength in those fists started to blow away the surrounding area. When Sakura punched, she saw that the girl's face was bleeding instead of breaking in, and her brief hesitation gave the woman the opportunity to kick Sakura miles into the air with her legs. Unbeknownst to them, the orange-haired adolescent was utilizing origin magic and summoning the Demon King's might for her next assault. Sakura glanced up behind her to see the orange blur emerge and channel crimson energy into their arm. "What is that? There's so much magic in that spell, I can feel it. And that appears to me to be up to 100 million runes." Sakura became quite alarmed, so she concentrated and directed magic into her eyes, which responded by displaying its full might. Sakura's awakening of the full power of her eyes caused the entire water country to tremble, and the spell that was developing in the girl's palm started to implode in on itself. In order to stop herself from falling, Sakura launched herself upward toward the teen in front of her, using her inner strength and wickedness to manipulate her thoughts and set her sights on slaying this monster. Gavest. The attack continued as Sakura sent arcs of purple lighting into the woman's seductive screams that served to excite the pinkett. Sakura punched the girl squarely in the face and heard the sound of snapping and cracking, indicating that this was a crucial blow and exactly what she needed. Because Sakura had been forming a ball of fire in her hand and dropping it carelessly, their area had been turning into a burnt forest, and Sakura watched with a sneer as the body started to fall to the earth beneath them. Satisfied, Sakura flew back to her brother and said, "That was nice." "Had enough?" Naruto turned to find Sakura covered in blood. "Yes. However, I can still continue." Sakura rolled her arms, feeling energized. "Don't worry, your physique is better, which means we can start training for real now." "What are you saying? Have you been delaying our instruction?" The idea of forcing Naruto to control himself through their training now irritated Sakura. "I can see it, you are a completely different person now," Naruto said, his eyes glowing redder as he gazed into the depths of her magic. "Of course, you wouldn't have survived the real training with how weak you used to be. You possess a great ability to cause damage, but not even in my field. However, you are not to blame for that." "What does that mean to you?" Sakura wanted to know every detail about her new physique since she was now inquisitive. Destruction is both a force and a notion. The idea of destruction and everything that falls beneath it are embodied by us Leviathans. A Leviathan? Demonic dragon. The straightforward, astounding response prompted Sakura to nod, allowing Naruto to resume his brief speech. "Being around destruction and the like gives you a tremendous propensity for these types of things. Being born from death is something we have in common." Naruto grinned as he watched Sasuke plummet into the ocean once more, and the incident also made him happy since he witnessed his little sister unleash destruction on the other demons. "So why do we have different aptitudes?" "Nice query. I was in hell and the void, therefore ours are different. Devastation swamped 2 locations. Given that we were born in 2 very different areas, it stands to reason that mine would be stronger." Naruto turned to face the girl who had just grown horns. They were bright and shiny, a little thinner than his thicker horns. "Well, I still have the strength to defeat you." Naruto flicked her on the head to tease, "if it helps you sleep at night." That irritated Sakura, so she threw Naruto a challenging smirk, to which he replied with a chuckle. Because she was feeling jittery, Naruto would watch how high she would jump. Sakura smiled and followed him as he soared into the air, saying, "Come on, let me see what you are capable of for myself." Sakura laughed and ducked her head, saying, "I'd like to know what your title is all about." "Come on then, the sun is retreating from me." Sakura disappeared from her position and appeared behind her bigger brother in a sudden burst of speed, a situation she had not anticipated but which she had assumed would be an easy kick. "Why are you leaving so quickly? You have no control over your speed." After saying, "It's good to move fast, but move with a purpose and make every motion count, not just a waste of precious energy," Naruto threw Sakura through the air in a spectacular show of motion. The forest had to endure the loud impact Sakura produced as she fell down, Naruto in front of her and only punched her in the gut, causing pain to flash through every part of her body faster than her brain could transmit messages to her body. "You'd better start getting stronger right away because I won't be holding you back as much anymore. You'll have to if you plan to survive what's coming, because these enemies we will soon face are not just shinobi, but gods," Sakura said, shouting down beneath the fractured soil for Sakura to hear. She had to limp away as Sakura dealt a ton of damage while her opponent was stumbling through the forest and recuperating in the previous area of her rampage. "I was unable to defeat her even after substituting space with my magic. How could I possibly take on the much bigger demon if I couldn't defeat that new one?" She questioned whether she would ever be able to achieve that level of power because there was something so powerful about that other demon's abilities. A challenge was being presented to her, but she would undoubtedly grow in return for that person. His power would be hers to take. All she wanted to do was bow and surrender to the superior being. The Leaf Village. Many people decided to go on dates, attend parties, or put in a little extra time at their shops because they felt that the pleasant weather tonight was a wonderful excuse to go out and do nocturnal activities. The Hokage and other key players he summoned to discuss the future were still at work. Hiruzen studied the members he summoned into the large room, which included his former team and all of the clan chiefs. "We must not squander time." Hiruzen got off to a strong start and looked around to check if anyone could understand. I've ordered you all here because there is a golden chance in front of us right now. He saw that the head of the Nara clan understood, as he had expected, and suddenly Hiruzen was certain that the man was already planning how to profit. Naruto is no longer in the village and will be gone for at least 2 weeks. I dispatched his group to the land of waves for escort. However, since Tsunade misrepresented the facts, it will alter. Danzo, his bandaged teammate, complimented him, saying, "Crafty of you, Hiruzen. It appears that his old comrade still holds him in high regard." "Yes, 2 weeks is more than enough time to plan how to eliminate him," Shoza replied. Inoichi said, "This is the Demon King, and I'm starting to hear his name everywhere. Before we make that decision, there must be some way we can use his power or force him to obey. I continue to receive information from our intelligence of mass killings carried out in the name of the Demon King of Tyranny. The Jashinists must not be very pleased, must they?" Sume, who was the only one in her chair who appeared at ease while the others were nervous, nearly burst out laughing. "Why do you say things in such a casual manner? Nobody will be safe from the wrath of these two groups of extremists if they go to war." Inoichi gave the laid-back woman a slightly irritated glance. "You're correct," Hiruzen said, nodding. "The disciples of Jashin are not bound by morality nor by social norms." Hiruzen's hair stood on edge just thinking about the bunch of disgusting individuals. "This other group isn't either. Have they been given a name?" Shikaku Nara inquired. "Yes, they are called the Cult of Tyranny." The statement caused the room to warm up, everyone to shudder, and everyone's heart to race. The creeping stillness was followed by a sense of disarray and death that no one could shake. "These women are serious," Inochi said, moving around the files on his desk. "The cult has a growing number of men and women, for whatever cause. However, their crime report is ridiculous despite their modest numbers." "What are you saying?" Shoza inquired. The man needed to eat a blueberry muffin to calm himself. "These numbers, their death toll is higher than the Third Great Shinobi War," Inochi said, appearing to go pale at what he had read. "And only getting bigger. They plundered villages, conquered villages, engaged in terrorism, committed genocide, stole, and many other crimes." "Winning? And what does that mean?" Heishi put up his best show of composure, although his fingers were twitching a little. "The Cult of Tyranny has taken up the liberty of taking villages under their wing." Hamura laughed and said, "I can imagine those villages have been burnt to the ground." "Elder, the opposite. These villages have risen to previously unachievable heights. Their economy is doing well, and they are even strengthening their military." "Well," Sume said, leaning forward and flexing her claws, "it's obvious what needs to be done. We should avoid putting our hands in first. It will provide a very negative impression if the stronger hidden village takes action first." Hiruzen demonstrated why he had endured for so long by thinking of ways to stop this group covertly. "This cult will gain recognition from our acknowledgement of their strength." The order was given and received, and he and Danzo made brief eye contact while still displaying their thoughts as he moved his gaze around the room. "Are you aware of which villages they have captured?" Shibi inquired. Inochi nodded. "I don't have anyone able to sneak into those places. They aren't even able to make it to the border without being killed. Inmates? Not taken." After they had a moment to consider the situation, Hiruzen said, "We need to focus on what's inside the village first." "How can we accomplish that?" Sume, who doesn't get much activity these days, questioned while resting on her fist. She was sad that she couldn't go kill something. "Now that Naruto has departed and only left Curtis here by himself, it begins." None of the clan heads were high enough to see Hiruzen in his prime or understand how he could dismantle a battlefield in a matter of seconds, but he was revealing to them a side that neither had ever seen before. His mother. If nothing else, that's a terrific way to pick at his skin. Is he truly interested in her? Kohaku's eyebrow went up. She received all of his millions of dollars when he first passed away. Hiruzen laughed and said, "If he doesn't care for her and this is all a charade, he was reborn, pushed out of her womb, and talked to me directly about being on Sakura's team. He has me." Danzo startled everyone in the room by saying, "But it is hard to fake love." As his female teammate put it, "You'd know that the best, wouldn't you, y'all little heartbreaker?" He merely stared and didn't laugh. "Anyways, I'm not saying we kidnap her, but we need to cripple her somehow." Hiruzen prevented his buddy from thinking about his past. Before anyone else could speak, a golden flying circle that resembled an angel's halo materialized in the middle of the room. It floated there horizontally before opening to reveal a hazy white portal, and a stunning angel with wide white wings and a radiant aura of warmth approached her from the spinning halo. Her hair was red and opulent, neatly arranged in 2 buns. A golden princess tiara adorned her head, with the Uzumaki symbol in the center. 2 white seal tags dangled from her buns. Her twin black eyes scanned the room, and she quickly used magic to see a formula intended only for her eyes. Mito, my darling, I'm glad you could once again grace the universe with your presence. If you're considering securing me with your chains, keep in mind what happened to your friend. However, I doubt heaven will ever forget your grave error, which is why I'm betting you're here to try to make amends and defeat the clan's Rouge Demon. You orchestrated this whole thing, Naruto. Mito balled her fist inside her shining white cloak and said, "We are dancing in your hand." MMI Mito-sama. Hello, little ones, nice to see you've lived to the fullest. She turned a passive expression to reveal shocked looks from Hiruzen, Danzo, Hamura, and Kaharu. How are you doing? Standing in a state of astonishment, Hamura asked. Mito gave her a hint by making the white wings on her back flicker. We can discuss it later. There are pressing matters that must be attended to initially. Like? Feeling tense, Hiruzen inquired. He heard screams and loud explosions coming from inside the village, and when Hiruzen looked out the window, he saw a dark cloud, but it was actually a horde of demons being led through the village, and they quickly caused chaos and knocked down the village's enormous doors as if they were weightless. Now, we're heading out to fight. Everyone got up and started to move, but then they felt their bodies stop and a sense of dread take over. They turned to see a man in an all-red suit, dressed as an army commander, saying, "That is my army and we will have this village as ours." A deep, composed voice said, "We will watch from here." Oh, I see. You must be one of the recently created demons that come from magic. Mito gazed at the demon, who had only been born a few hours prior, with curiosity. Magic-born demons. You are not like the rest though, are you? Mito asked. Amur is my name. I want this village to be mine. He played with the long golden hilt of his demon sword, yet he sounded sleepy. Every town says this is the strongest village or whatever. How did he acquire a demon blade as well? He could have created a demon sword out of some demons, I guess. She was cautious since this guy was fast to act and brilliant, but he was still naive. He lost the moment he entered this office. But he's basically still a baby, how can he do that? She thought. Never confront the adversary directly without any means of escape. After saying that, golden chains sprung up from the earth and encircled Amur's body, turning his piercing visage into one of agony and distress. What are you doing? This is the end of your life. Mito walked over and summoned numerous light particles to her palm, which swiftly shaped into a holy staff. You are young, so I'd expect you to slip up like this. Mito placed the staff's end, which resembled a ball, on his head. Her chains are restraining me and taking hold of my magic and siphoning it off, Amur said, gasping for breath and squinting his fiery eyes at Mito as he blazed his magic to the limit and growled. He was now beginning to regret his stupid decisions and despise how little he knew. There must be a way to reverse it or stop the repercussions. I'll merely make something to halt it. Nothing too difficult. A script that ran the length of Mito's chains started to rot and take away Mito's control as Amur started to write a spell to stop Mito's acts. That ought not to be feasible. Even though it was a highly troublesome and thought-provoking spell, there isn't a spell that can simultaneously corrupt, steal, and disorient in that way. How absurd this youngster suddenly became, making something from nothing at all. This time, I will give up. But I'm not going to lose again. Flames from his feet licked at the room, swiftly converting it to ash. They turned and wrapped her up instead. I'll have to create a counterspell for this. Mito utilized her magic to shield the innocent by creating a barrier around them as she fired her chains out to grab Amur. The community. Before it's too late, we must go out there. Since the demons appeared to be having a parade inside the hamlet and their rampage didn't seem to be ending anytime soon, Hiruzen could see that the community was being attacked in a number of ways. When the demons ran into buildings and mercilessly killed anything breathing in the room, sometimes without even looking inside and just shooting it with fire until it was nothing but a smoking pile of ash, horrible screams engulfed the once lively night with fear. All the demons avoided one house, even the entire neighborhood, because the presence was simply too strong. If they tried to approach, they would freeze and perish from their source, destroying itself. Right again, my lord. Mito has come. Curtis was seated in this house, his arms folded and his eyes closed, using his senses to check the outside and allowing his magic to drift over the hamlet to focus on the Hokage's tower. Hey, Curtis. There are some strange-looking monsters attacking the village. Mebuki stared out the window and screamed in terror. Yes, I'm curious as to why they're here. I detect another presence, but they're going. Curtis felt sorry for Amur, who was heading out, and sensed the young demon's raging hunger for victory and power. Curtis arched an eyebrow, but he could tell that Amur possessed the mindset of a demon king, much like Naruto had been years before. Another big presence was approaching the town. "Hey, Curtis, outside, they're a huge monster." With a sigh, the man approached the window and arched an eyebrow, saying, "Well, that sure is something." The creature, which was massive enough to protrude over the village's enormous gates, had pale yellow skin, large teeth that were always visible because it lacked lips but appeared to be smiling, and a flat, side-pointing top. The sheer size and volume of its body was enough to leave you speechless, and it had numerous spikes that protruded from its body from a variety of angles on top of its already thick skin. The giant demon decided it was time to go, and using only its leg, it kicked down the wall, then stooped down and sprang far into the night sky, vanishing from sight as it plummeted back to the ground, causing the entire hamlet to tremble under the weight of its body. Since he was certain Naruto would not want their home base destroyed, Curtis thought about going out and stopping the demon, but he decided to ignore the cries for help and beg for mercy because he had heard far worse. If nothing else, they could simply find another location to set up shop. And simply increase the volume instead. "Hey, Curtis. Yes. You need to go and do something. There is a god here, she will no doubt take care of it." "I don't see whoever this god is doing anything." Mebuki scowled as he moved in front of the television. "Therefore, you must go and prevent these monsters from destroying the village." The great lady's demands were to be taken seriously because she was his lord's mother, but Curtis didn't want to miss this display, so he gazed at the glaring mother. "Hey, Curtis, all right, great lady. I'll leave." Curtis reluctantly got to his feet and suppressed a groan, saying, "It won't take long, but just in case." He set a record on the remote control so he could return and observe. "Just leave." Mebuki pulled him out the door and saw Curtis run for the demon in no time. As they came to a halt, Curtis noticed the devastation and felt the destruction within of him tremble to be released. Everything was engulfed in flames, and many people found beauty in disaster. "A baby's cries can sometimes be so annoying," Curtis said, pulling the demon blade, Omen, from his waist as he noticed the demon smiling at him after hearing a roar to his left. Curtis's black eyes turned to view Mito Uzumaki's regal and heavenly form, and he quickly swerved to the side to escape being pierced by chains. "So you were waiting for me? You are so unholy. Allowing these individuals to perish. I will take you out first, then stop all of this," Mito said, pointing the tip of her staff at Curtis and casting a spell. Verdiasti. Light blue balls of fire began to erupt in the air, encircling Curtis. Curtis crossed his arms and considered making fun of her, but he remembered he had to see that show. "Come now, Mito, surely you jest. You will die, and so will Naruto." Curtis glared as his meaning surfaced, "That is the Demon King to you." Mito used her heavenly staff to unleash hundreds of spells at Curtis in one go, but fortunately, Curtis was nimble enough to evade the blue flames and still avoid being hit by the spells. "You don't have time." Curtis swiftly pulled Omen to slash into the air, destroying everything within 20 meters of him, including the clouds above and the land below. "He too is stronger, but I didn't underestimate him." Mito was unable to stop them all and sustained deep cuts throughout her body, leaving her robe white. Curtis pointed 2 fingers at Mito, and a piercing beam of darkness shot out, impaling her through the stomach and nailing her to a building. "Try harder, maybe launch 1,000,000 spells next time. Now for you." Curtis was flying at the beast quicker than anyone could see, so it was not surprising when his fist struck the yellow demon that it ripped a huge hole in its chest. Curtis turned and made swift, crisp, and expert slashes. The demon was reduced to millions of fragments that were invisible to the naked sight. Curtis then released his presence over the entire town, causing all of the demons to freeze and perish from his overwhelming power, before waving his hand and setting fire to the air, burning all of the remains. "Now, I can watch TV all night." God, also called the White Dragon, was standing on a level surface. The lawn was a lush green and neatly groomed. His body was simultaneously dazzling and brilliant. A healthy bloom developed with every step he made, creating a path of exploding flowers in a variety of distinctive colors. No dirt dared touch his white robe, despite the fact that its bottom trailed on the floor. He had been on foot for a while now. He used it as a training ground. He had constructed heaven as a distinct dimension to contain his all-powerful magic, and it was distinct from heaven. He used to frequently train here with his brother when he was considerably younger. He thought about the several fights he and Lucifer had. This led to a question he had posed in the past. Is this the fulfillment you want from your life? That question would never be answered for him now. because he had killed his brother in front of his granddaughter using his own hands. But, of course, there was no longer any familiar affection between them. My foolish brother, even beyond the grave you still cause me trouble. Little demons seem to think they can match you, but it is a fruitless endeavor. You shine the brightest amongst us angels, so it was a shame when your light shadowed your future. He would have made a greater effort to prevent him from departing and turning into the first original sin if he had been able to see what lay ahead. Even after God had wiped his brother out and ensured that he would never return. I've filled my life with joyous pleasure. He frowned and sucked his teeth. You grew evil, and to make it worse, you spread your evil across the universes. All you had to do was be faithful. Michael spoke from behind him. My lord. Yes? They are ready. God smiled as he turned to Michael. Fantastic. Let us deploy the elite task force of heaven, the divine scholars. Sakura charged in and punched Naruto repeatedly, saying, "Haha, I think I'm catching up to you." With his arms folded, Naruto ducked around Sakura's fist and kicked her sporadically with his leg. If I had known my hits would have given you brain damage, I'd have held back some more. Soon after, Sakura became irate and impatient, so she used her demonic power to try to crush Naruto under its tremendous pressure, destroying the forest and everything around them. She saw that her sparkling magic didn't bother Naruto. "Geo Graze!" she exclaimed as she leapt back and attacked the Demon King with a fierce firestorm. Naruto's lips lifted in a sneer of confidence. Geo Graze. Both of their eyes were blazing with strength that could have rocked the earth. Jersad. The gloomy illumination hurled at Naruto, who merely brushed it aside like a tiny insect. Sakura flipped the earth up by digging her hands into the ground. There was debris and dust all over, forming a debris cloud. Everything was blasted away when Naruto waved his palm, making the space clear once more. However, Sakura was not there. He dragged her to the ground, where a crater quickly formed as Sakura was slammed into the coarse dirt, until he lifted his palm in the air and grabbed the leg drop. As she moaned at the wound, it knocked the wind and the fight out of her. "All right, I give." "Good, we can continue some other time. We should get back, Zabuza will be confronting us tomorrow." Naruto replied. Sakura hauled herself up when he held out a hand for her to grasp onto. Sakura wiped the mud off her clothes and went next to her brother, saying, "There shouldn't be too much trouble with us two here. Don't look just one way, there are many roads to be seen." Incredulous, Sakura questioned, "What do you mean?" "There is always more than one outcome, and if you don't try to see them all you might suffer a fatal mistake which will be your downfall in the end." Was there more to this? Sakura wondered. Perhaps Naruto had knowledge of tomorrow that she did not. This, given how much more knowledgeable Naruto was than she was probably the case. Is there something big about to happen tomorrow? Well, see, won't we? The aroma of cooking welcomed Naruto and Sakura as they entered the house. The food smelled wonderful, and Sakura grinned and sniffed. Sakura would struggle to abandon her human habits, even after Naruto explained the benefits of not requiring drugs or sleep. Sakura noticed Tsunade over the stove after following the scent into the kitchen. "Welcome back, did you find your training fruitful?" "Very. But the food smells amazing." Tsunade smiled at the girl with the pink hair. Tsunade noticed horns in her hair now. She pointed out that those weren't there before. However, she simply attributed it to Shinobi training. It will be ready in a few more minutes. Sakura took a seat across from Sasuke and Kakashi after removing a chair from the wooden table. Their sensei appeared to be absorbed in his own world as he continued to read his book. Sasuke, meanwhile, waited in silence with his arms folded, until he also became aware of his teammates' thin horns. Sasuke turned to watch Naruto sit on the living room couch, but more significantly, he noticed Naruto's horns poking over the couch. "So where did the horns come from? Are you now similar to your brother?" Sasuke pinned Sakura with an unwavering gaze, making it obvious he wouldn't let the subject go unnoticed. Sakura reached up to the sharp horns that were positioned directly on either side of her head, and panic shot through her. Her wild gaze shifted to Naruto, who was lounging on the couch. What sprang to me was Naruto's handling of his appearance and his heritage. Naruto strode with complete self-confidence and dignity. He sought neither self-assurance nor solace in others. His beliefs were unchangeable. She would so once more rely on her brother and Demon King for power. "They are my horns," Sakura exclaimed, her chin raised and her eyes determined. "It is proof of who and what I am and to become." Sakura missed Naruto's proud smile for her when she was on the couch. Both Kakashi and Sasuke were alarmed by this. If Sakura was expressing their opinions, it indicated that Sakura had become a monster. Kakashi glanced at Naruto, who appeared to be scrolling through his phone without paying any attention. His gaze then landed on the perplexed Sasuke. I knew it was only a matter of time before this outcome presented itself, but so soon. Sakura must have been further off the edge than we all thought. Whatever happens, I can't allow this outcome to fall onto Sasuke. Sasuke was eager to hear her response to the question. Why? Why turn yourself into a demon? He didn't know why. Sasuke and Sakura stared at each other for what seemed like an eternity. She stared at him as though the cause was clear and said nothing. It's hard to narrow it down to one reason when there are so many benefits. The female was furious, and Sasuke gritted his teeth. Why damn it, you didn't have to. Sakura turned her nose up at him instead of providing Sasuke with the response he was looking for. I wanted to. Sasuke growled, but he soon calmed himself and regained his lost poise. Fine then, I hope you were happy. Sakura smiled, displaying a new emotion, very happy, overjoyed even. When Tsunade placed plates of freshly prepared food on the table for them, the situation was resolved. You all relax and just enjoy. Kakashi grinned at the woman and put down his book. Thank you, Tsunade-san, the food looks amazing. As she finished her pieces of rice, Sakura remarked, taste good. Tsunade turned to face the man reclining on the couch and asked, don't you want any Naruto? No, I'm good, thank you, let the kids enjoy. Kakashi asked, is he calling me a kid? Tsunade asked again, concerned that the man wouldn't eat because they didn't have enough money or food. Are you sure? I made sure to make enough for you all. He comforted them, promise. Then his phone rang and he held it up to his ear. His beloved wife answered the phone on the first ring. Honey. Naruto grinned broadly at the warm welcome, and a sensation of warmth filled his chest. Hey Albedo-chan. Albedo on the other end of the phone tightened his grip on Naruto's body pillow as she flushed. I miss you already. How long has it been for you? Naruto said, too long, I'm sorry for not calling sooner. Albedo could hear how sincere his apology was. His warmth and honesty made Albedo grin. It's okay, I know you've been busy trying to get everything to work. If you ever need to rest you can come back and let us cater to you. And she truly meant it. They could unwind without having sex. She would massage him, cook for him, cut his nails, or simply let him sleep on her lap. Naruto rose from his chair and went outside. That sounds nice, but I can handle whatever they throw at me. I felt him send down the divine scholars and a horde of demon slayers. Albedo gave a small laugh. You've got him dancing to your tune. I'm sure he is thinking of something to stop you. Naruto smiled. He can't. The white dragon is clueless as to what my true goal is. And we will be here to assist you in any way you need. I already told the other primordial heads about what was coming and they're all game. If anything, they're too antsy to strike. How are Nobu and Asima-chan? I didn't tell them goodbye. It was a passionate night, and they both laughed at the joke. Yes you did, all night if I remember correctly. But Nobu-chan is a little mad at you. I think you should send her something to cheer her up. She always acts like she is cool and nothing affects her, but she sure does hold grudges and get mad at little things. I swear, when you're not here she talks and talks about how you did such and such which made her happy. As Albedo continued talking about Nobunaga, Naruto grinned. His women had a difficult beginning, but they naturally got closer and discovered love for one another. Following numerous battles for supremacy, Albedo consistently prevailed. Even Asima, who was supposed to be the calm one with Nobunaga, ended up fighting, which was unexpected. He was aware that Tsunade and Albedo would immediately quarrel because they both enjoyed being the focus of attention and being touched. They ended up arguing and turning into little fights because they didn't like sharing at all. They might have taken control of him and done whatever they wanted if he hadn't been himself, but since they would effectively become a single family, he was able to soothe them and make them love one another. At times, Naruto even had to physically separate them or administer punishments. Fortunately, they learned to accept each other after just a few months of living together, sharing a bathroom, sleeping in the same bed, and seeing each other every day. They now behaved like decent, conventional wives, spoke to one another, and viewed him as their husband rather than merely the demon lord. You all are getting along, I hope? Naruto inquired, hinting at the suffering he had indicated. In a panic, Albedo's voice answered, Oh, of course. We've moved past that stage and I love my three sisters very much. Rapidly, she declined to face Naruto's furious anger once more. Albedo adored Naruto's laugh, which she let her hear while he laughed. I'm just messing with you. I know you all are good. But is Asima-chan okay? Yeah, she wasn't upset about it. Last night was enough for her. Though she did come later and ask if you had finally left. So I guess she wanted to say goodbye. She's actually still here if you want me to get her. We've just been relaxing. I'd like that. Albedo moved the phone away from her ear and said, all right, let me call her, Asima-chan. What? She heard the retort from a distance. This is Na. Hi, Naruto-kun, I'm glad to talk to you once more. I apologize for not informing you of my departure. No, everything is all right. Asima grinned and played lazily with her hair, saying, I said my goodbyes and good luck the night before. Are you okay? Will I have to bring the troops soon? I'm now in the land of water on a mission with my genin crew. I'll give you a call after we go. Naruto wondered what was going on when he heard the phone crack up and listened again to hear stifled laughter and giggling. Asima had put the phone on speaker so Albedo could hear, so she sat down next to her and began to cover her mouth to keep from laughing, but Albedo wasn't helping because she was about to burst. What's so amusing? Naruto inquired. After taking a few moments to collect themselves, the two said, nothing, Albedo-chan just made a funny side comment. What was it she said? Only for Naruto to recall what he had just said. Looking back, he realized that Tsunade had also begun to laugh a little the night she came, assuming she was simply intoxicated and laughing at one of her jokes. For being a genin, however, they were making fun of him. Aren't you laughing at me? Naruto moaned, slapping his teeth. No, I'm not. They finally stopped giggling after a pause. Then, in the background, Albedo chimed up, my lord genin. That was when the stick snapped. They both laughed, loud, belly-lurching laughter at him. Hey, go on laughing it up, Naruto said, feigning amusement. And they did. Well, since you all are okay, I'm hanging up. Their formidable partner, Demon King, Lord of Tyranny, Dragon of Destruction, had been reduced to the lowest of the low, a genin, and they were hardly able to breathe sufficiently to say goodbye. After she stopped laughing, Asima continued, now look, he hung up. Come on, you're aware of its humor. We must inform Nobunaga immediately. Wait till Kurama learns. Now when he gets you back, I don't want to hear anything. Tell Nobu-chan over the phone. Oh, we must also instruct Naruto-kun to get her a present so that she would feel better. What should he get her? Asima called the Demon Lord on the 6th floor after accessing her contacts. Whatever he provides her, she will be content. True, Albedo said, wiping away her tears and grinning, but sometimes a girl wants something specific. She really is an introvert. Asima remarked, I suppose she's probably in her lab developing something new. The phone rang, and she was the first to speak. You know what happened to Naruto-kun? She could clearly hear the frustration in Nobunaga's voice as she said, I know he left. Naruto-kun has turned into a genin. Albedo and Asima burst out laughing once more. Nobunaga's malicious laughter lifted her spirits, and she began to laugh with them in spite of herself. Naruto used magic to send his phone away and broke the charm that had been preventing sound. TCH, work on my nerves. How odd that I was unable to hear anything. I was unable to read his lips because I couldn't even see his face. Kakashi's shadow clone, which was hidden on the roof and shocking its chakra while spying on Naruto, shattered the illusion, returning his knowledge to the original. As I walked back inside, I noticed Sakura finally setting down her dish of rice while Sasuke was giving his opponent a fierce look. Sakura then let out a loud belch and covered her mouth. Naruto remarked, how unladylike of you, Sakura-chan. Everybody burps. It's a normal response. To preserve face, she said, if anything, it's a compliment to the wondrous cook. Sakura avoided talking to Tsunade, who was taken aback. Well unsure of what else to do, she gave a pleasant grin and said, thank you. Well, let's go to bed, we've got a gruesome week ahead of us, Kakashi said lightly. Like I told them, Naruto, Zabuza is still out there, and no doubt waiting for the right time to strike. Naruto boldly and unapologetically proclaimed, fear not, though, I am here, which makes anything they bring null and void. Kakashi joked, all your confidence may be your downfall one day. Without replying, Naruto just walked past Kakashi to the rooms, but not before stroking the Junin's hair and firmly and completely informing him of his position without using any words. Kakashi had been punched in front of everyone, which was more than a little embarrassing. All of you ought to give up now while it's still possible. The kid wearing the bucket hat, Inari, had finally plucked up the confidence to say, Gato is going to kill you. Sasuke responded, in your dreams, kid. He then followed Naruto down the hall after he had politely put his dish in the sink. As though an entrepreneur could stop who I am today. Sakura also put her dishes in the sink and was mindful of her politeness, saying, This mission was a success the moment our team accepted it. Just sit back and relax. Tsunade's expression conveyed his uncontrollable amusement. Quite the group of shinobi you've got there. Kakashi followed them to their quarters, sighing, they are a bunch of misfits. After a week the day had finally come, and Team 7 had finally developed the confidence necessary to feel prepared for combat following intense training. After Naruto used Gatom, a form of teleportation magic that linked locations together, a green circle of light flashed on the bridge, and Team 7 emerged. How handy is that spell? Kakashi concluded by posing a query. Naruto nodded in agreement, then looked into the mist that was sweeping across the bridge, and just in time as well. Zabuza and Haku emerged from the fog, two ninjas standing resolutely opposite Team 7. Zabuza growled as Naruto's richly assured voice said, I see you've licked your wounds, demon. You conceited trash. Your head is mine, Zabuza shouted, his bloodlust spilling across the bridge, far more powerful this time. However, Sasuke was the only member of the squad who was impacted by this, and he wasn't so naive as to ignore it. The weakest member of Team 7 was Sasuke. So, Zabuza, what are your thoughts? Have you made up your mind yet? Naruto mentioned the query he had posed to Zabuza during their initial encounter. And even your little student can follow in your footsteps. Zabuza's chakra surged as he charged in with his enormous sword, saying, I'll tell you after I take your head. The Pinkett had already sent Zabuza backward with a dropkick when Kakashi was pulled back from attacking. Stay, Sakura will handle it. Naruto. Zabuza is too much for Sakura to handle alone. Turning, Naruto infused his words with magic, saying, Silence. Kakashi would have been sent to the afterlife long ago if Curtis had been present, but he became annoyed with Kakashi's interrogation and meddling. Watch your words or they will be your last. Kakashi froze and was unable to speak again. Naruto was a cool, laid-back person who didn't really care if people addressed him respectfully or not. They all worshipped him anyway, so he didn't see any harm in it. Maybe it's because he hasn't been with his girls or cut loose. No, Kakashi just irritated him. He may have let his anger out because he didn't have a maid to drain his balls. Sasuke, you're handling the other ninja with little difficulty, right? After witnessing Kakashi's treatment, Sasuke bit his lip to contain the witty comment he wanted to make. HMPH, I can. All right, then, I'll give you a gift if you win the fight. After saying that, Sasuke set off to fight the ice-style ninja, a fight that he would soon learn could have been too much. The white-winged unit of angels advanced purposefully on their way to Weeb, and the large clouds in the sky parted to make room for them. The unit consisted of 1,000 divine scholars, the highest rank in the celestial army. With just 50,000 divine scholars, they were relatively small in comparison to the millions of troops the angels possessed. Although he was unsure of how, God knew that Naruto had managed to escape hell without anybody noticing, and he felt that this was sufficient to stop him. Regardless of the method he employed, a heavy price had to have been paid. According to the song, their commander stated, you have to lose in order to gain. The man had short, flowing green hair, a young appearance, and was wearing holy anti-magic armor made of polished silver with gold embroidery. He held a well-known holy sword in his right hand, which was dubbed the Protection Sword. He was an angel named Sanitary Evans, who was renowned for his skill with holy swords and was rumored to have cut a demon from a completely different plane. Leader, what are you saying? As he flew alongside him, his companion inquired. Just saying again what God stated. His means of getting out of hell weakens the Demon King. But we shouldn't rely on this because it's only conjecture. His bright eyes were fixed on their objective. As they sped across the earth at speeds that might leave lightning behind, the scene below them was reduced to a haze. Suddenly the air seemed to flare up and the atmosphere heated up, and a black, fiery-looking sun of flames rushed toward them. How could a spell so large that it blotted out the skies suddenly come upon them? Using one of the holy sword's unique powers, Sanitary raised it. Second hidden art, Prolong. He then utilized all of his strength to swing his sword with two hands and, with effort, destroy the Geo-Grays. The attack slowed down and would take longer to reach its eventual target of a destructive end. I see, so Nagila was used to conceal the spell. Following a powerful explosion that sent them flying like paper in the wind, time continued on the spell until they were drawn back by gravity, which was also stealing their magic. Another ache made his heart skip a beat. His source. Sanitary could feel his source getting depleted and a little shaky, and he could see that everyone else was feeling the same. What spell is this? Nothing that I've heard of has the ability to separate the source. How terrifying. The Demon King of Tyranny certainly lived up to his reputation. Santari summoned another holy sword from a complicated magic circle in his left palm, activating his magic eyes. Jumon Heishi Sha. How strange, he's attacking us from miles away, said Sanitari, targeting the spell formula that created the attack and destroying it. Sanitari regained control and allowed the power to leave his eyes. Everyone, hurry up. We have to get rid of the Demon King quickly. To get to Naruto, everyone regained control of their freighted magic and started flying faster. They were clearly winning since Sakura was smiling and making Zabuza look like a cat dancing after the rope. Naruto had divided his focus throughout and was still keeping up with the combat that was happening in front of him. Even though Sasuke started strong and was able to match Haku's speed, he was having trouble defeating the Yuki clan member until the latter started demonstrating his true abilities. At least Sakura was doing well. Naruto would recognize it and eventually assist Sasuke because of his intelligence and intense will to gain strength. They'll be here soon, but this battle will soon come to an end. Although her overall appearance was wild and ferocious, it was still well coordinated and a sight to behold. Sakura was a flurry of pink as she would lash out and deliver debilitating blows to Zabuza, who felt the immense anguish of each strike. Sakura was too strong, and even now, when she swiped at his face with her clawed fingers like claws, causing blood and discoloring his bandages, she controlled him totally and demonstrated her immense supremacy in close combat. Her eyes were smirking and blatantly mocking him as she said, "Man Zabuza, you've got pretty weak abilities. Just remain motionless." Okay. Under his mask, Zabuza smiled and said, "Go on, let's see what you have to say now." The sound of flesh being penetrated along with blood droplets on the bridge reached both of their ears. "Did you believe that I could be killed by being run through? What the devil?" Sakura's smaller fingers tightened their grip around Zabuza's neck, grabbing him by the throat and causing his feet to come off the ground. He was being raised higher and higher. Now hovering above the bridge, Sakura still held Kabikirabocho in her chest, and without showing any signs of discomfort, she used her free hand to rip the weapon away and tossed Zabuza to the ground, where he struck hard and broke bones. "Just take the offer. Sakura, go and help Sasuke before he dies," Naruto commanded Sakura, who initially appeared hesitant. Sakura threw herself into the ice trap that Sasuke was in. "Yo Uchiha. I'm here to keep you safe." When Sasuke spotted her, he became enraged and said, "Why didn't you assault from the outside when you came in?" "Relax, she's not that strong." Haku watched them from inside her mirror while Sasuke remained vigilant. "It's clear we can't hit her because she can move at the speed of light when she jumps from mirror to mirror," Sasuke said. "However, if we are able to hit her critically while she is attacking." Sakura glanced at the ice and said, "Yeah, she will be taken down. I assume you've already struck it with fire." "Yes, but the amount of heat you would nay." Sakura's palm dissolved into heated steam and evaporated upon contact with the mirror she was aiming at. "What thin ice? Where you got those flames from is a mystery to me. However, it's essential that you don't undervalue me." Haku called forth Senbon needles and sped at the speed of light to Sakura. When Sakura seized Haku, she put the girl in a headlock and remarked, "You are fast." Her voice was shocked. "You might have surprised me if Sasuke hadn't told me," Sakura continued. "However, don't assume that we wouldn't have found ourselves in this predicament. I saw nothing at all. In a moment, they were both like that." "Hey, don't move like that, it's getting to me." Sakura muttered as she discovered a haze was taking over her thoughts, and Haku fought to break free but discovered that her physical strength was far inferior to Sakura's. Observing Haku closely now, she could sense that the girl was in top shape, with a trim waist and a fragile, supple neck that might break like a twig if she so desired. Unaware that she was rousing Sakura, Haku was grinding her butt back into her. Sakura's magic-enhanced voice encircled Haku like a glove and said, "Stop, you've lost, now surrender." Sakura sensed Haku's desperation as her head fell. "Just kill me, I'm useless to Zabuza-sama," she said. "I am a flawed instrument." "No, I like you." Sakura angrily disagreed, "You have potential." They were both of a similar age and strength, so maybe they could become close friends in the future. "And I want you." That last sentence just fell out, and Sakura didn't have time to fix it. "Want me? As an ally?" "Indeed, to recoup from her error," Sakura said. "I want to be friends with a girl my age." "You shouldn't consider yourself a tool. You are a person with a pure heart and a compassionate soul. You ought to be passionate and full of life. Instead, though, I am overcome with hopelessness. I lead a tragic existence." "You don't have to tell me about your life yet, you will not perish here." Sasuke was taken aback by Sakura's kindness, and even the girl was shocked by her own behavior. Sakura's current behavior was simply motivated by her intense interest in Haku. It would be nice, but it's unlikely. After releasing Haku from the grip and turning her around by the shoulders, Sakura reached to remove her mask without resisting because Haku had lost all of her strength. She is stunning. Sakura's eyes widened as she was taken aback by the snow angel's beauty. Haku had the most exquisite brown eyes Sakura had ever seen, and her soft features and pale skin gave her an otherworldly beauty. Her long black hair framed her face, making the night sky appear bright. "Please, tell me your name, Haku," she said in a gloomy, despairing tone. Sakura was unsure of what to do next. She was not good at socializing and essentially kept Haku captive. She quickly released the girl's slim shoulders, and she saw that her face was getting a little hot, something she only experienced when talking to Ino. Why was this happening now? I'm Sakura." Haku stared curiously at the strangely apprehensive girl, who seemed like a completely different person than a few minutes before. Is Sakura behaving in a girlish manner? Sasuke was astounded by what he saw. "I've lost to you, Sakura-chan." Taking Sakura's hand and placing it over her chest, Haku pleaded, "Use your power to finish me off. Use your fire to burn me alive for my incompetence." Sakura's rage erupted in her magic eyes of destruction. "I promised not to kill you. You have to live in order to defend Zabuza." Haku appeared on the verge of tears. I can no longer. How can I fulfill my one and only purpose in life since I lost to you? My sibling. He'll assist you. Your sibling is abnormal. Who is the Demon King, anyway? When Haku heard the rumors, he started to believe them when he was fighting Naruto. Yes, he is authentic. Sakura dragged Haku away from the tumbling mirror dome. Well, Zabuza. Naruto couldn't control the mocking laugh that slipped his throat, now that a young demon has defeated you. What do you say? On assuming the role of Demon Lord? You will undoubtedly accomplish all of your objectives? In addition to the excruciating pain that accompanied any movement of his muscles, Zabuza's bones were fractured, making it difficult for him to talk. It was unbelievable that after only a few blows and being flung to the ground, he had been broken. She's no baby demon. Oh, you'd be surprised, she just came to life a week ago. So it's accurate. Sakura is now a demon. Kakushi's heart skipped a beat. He was still helpless next to Naruto, but maybe if he used his Sharingan, the guy might break the curse. Zabuza didn't even need to put up a fight for something they both knew the answer to because Naruto had known the answer since the day they first met. Zabuza responded succinctly to this question that could change someone's life. I accept. Naruto grinned and said, I know, and so he did what he had done to make Sakura into what she is now. Zabuza lurched in agony and screamed in agony that echoed throughout the bridge. Zabuza-sama. Sakura was left behind as Haku hurried over. Zabuza stood tall beside a new demon sword, and he looked the same, with the exception of his eyes becoming dangerous slits. The sword he had used all his life had changed, but it was still a broadsword head clever. A flash of light and an explosion of power tore across the bridge. The greatsword's steel turned from silver to a rusty red, as tiny demonic runes and spell forms crawled up the weapon, giving the blade a slight bend. Oh, as anticipated. With interest, Naruto observed, you've acquired the power of a demon lord. Naruto looked into the depths of his magic and noticed the expanding pool of magic. But not a demon king. Naruto had only 2 fingers to catch the blade as he shot a wave of his magic into Zabuza. Zabuza had quickly snatched up his sword and attempted to slit Naruto in the center. It would be better if you kept it in mind. If you dare to point your sword at me, some of my fellows will kill you, the despotic king declared. Zabuza-sama. Are you okay? Haku approached him first and inquired about his health, seeing a shift in his gaze and a greater sense of hatred in his aura than before. She looked at her secret father figure. Thank you for this chance, my demon king. Zabuza went to Naruto and bowed, getting on one knee, and reassured Haku by patting her head, saying, I'm better than I've ever been. You may stand, Demon Lord. Naruto laughed loudly, and Zabuza obeyed. The source inside of Zabuza must have been making him revere the Demon Lord, for the man bowed rather than yelling threats. Naruto, the Demon King, Haku screamed and dropped to her knees, will you kindly turn me into a monster too? You're not interested in being parted from your master? Naruto asked. He understood how the girl felt. When it was time for him and Kurama to leave, they were both sort of beaten up over it. You understand this, do you? By doing this, you will never be at ease in heaven. It is irrelevant. Haku fervently declared, I will follow Zabuza-sama to the end of time. Naruto praised Zabuza, who did not attempt to stop the girl, saying, quite the devoted subordinate you have there. Haku, I will immediately grant your request. Under Haku, a magic circle developed, and she enjoyed the metamorphosis, even if it meant turning into a demon to fulfill Zabuza's desires. When Naruto peered up, he saw that the 1,000 divine scholars had covered the sky, and just in time. When Haku left the circle, the air became much colder and everyone could feel the force emanating from him. The bridge froze over completely, and even the sea beneath them turned to ice. Wow, Haku, I had no idea you had grown so powerful, Sakura said in horror. If we fight, you might be able to kill me. Haku's eyes and hair both turned a delicate light blue, nearly white. This is incredible. I feel like I could freeze the world. Haku turned to face herself and gazed into her own magical ocean using magic eyes. My new subordinates, now. The ultimate test of your newly acquired skills will be this. Some of the greatest gods of heaven are above us. To send a message to God himself, we will murder them all. Naruto prepared by fluttering his magic eyes of destruction. Oh God. It's true, but don't be scared. I will eliminate everyone who stands against us. Kakashi observed as the white-winged gods, who Naruto claimed were heavenly scholars, repelled this new set of demons. As a shinobi under the leaf, he had witnessed a great deal. This must have been one of the most bizarre things he had ever seen. What was he supposed to do? Was it really important to protect Tsunade now? There were actual demons on the earth and gods in the sky. The Hokage had given Kakashi the responsibility of keeping an eye on Naruto, thus he had to complete this assignment at any costs. Hiruzen had already received news from him about the ongoing events. Thus, Hiruzen would have something to go on if something were to happen to him. Kakashi took sure to always keep Naruto inside his line of sight while his Sharingan was out. Shaken from the inside out, Sasuke stared and asked, "What's going on?" With response to Sasuke's query, Kakashi said, "I'm not entirely sure, Sasuke, but one thing is clear, this is not something we need to get involved in." But Kakashi, Sakura is fighting. Sakura, Kakashi did not continue. He could tell Sasuke what. To be honest, he didn't have to. Sakura's identity was obvious. Perfect, upright, and in place, she stood beside them. Kakashi pushed Sasuke and Tsunade back, saying, "We will back up, I'm sure this will not be a clean battle." Sasuke stewed his rage and balled his fist. Once more, he found himself helpless and confronted with the situation's truth. There was nothing he could do. This emotion constantly made Sasuke hesitant since it brought to memory the nightmarish experience. Would I be able to fight next to them, if I was a demon? He asked himself when his life was irrevocably altered and the path he was walking down was visible to even a blind man. Unbeknownst to Sasuke, another monster was invading his private. The demonkind's ruler and king. As Naruto reached into a magic circle, he let the corner of his mouth to slightly lift. Everyone became tense because they thought he was going to pull a demon sword. Santari held his hand while squinting his eyes and considering a strike. Naruto would eventually get a chance to taste his blade. He did, however, raise an eyebrow when he saw Naruto take out the specially crafted set that Tsunade had fashioned for him as well as a floating bottle of sake. It was a bottle of Tsunade's homemade sake. The aforementioned name was Forester, which was swiftly made here on the blue marble but mostly made in hell. Surprisingly, it gave Tsunade a lot of money, but she spent most of it gambling, so the money didn't last. Making Lil Shizun constantly worry and chastise Tsunade. A collection of orange-colored bottles, a saucer, and the floating sake. Naruto took the sake bottle and poured him a cup, saying, "Let me enjoy this sake that my beloved made herself before we start to clip your wings." He gulped it down after taking a sip. Naruto grinned and allowed a satisfied grin to slip from his mouth. His scarlet eyes glowed with hate as he opened them again. The gods all felt a chill go down their arms as chills erupted out of control. There is no salvation for any of you. Your souls will be collected and consumed to boost my subordinate's power. Santari interpreted that as a signal to start fighting and gave the scholars the command to attack the group of demons gathered on the bridge. Their spells were already in motion when they fell like a hailstorm. A few lightning, wind, water, or fire spells. Holy magic is the exact opposite of devil magic. Under his bandages, Zabuza hurried forward to face them head-on, grinning maniacally. Haku was right behind him, making sure to protect her master from any harm. Sakura took her time leaving, unlike the other two. She wasn't afraid, as Naruto could see, but she was also quite anxious. In contrast to Sakura, Zabuza and Haku were surrounded by blood from birth. For years, they were aware of strife and ongoing struggle. So much so that it was reassuring to charge at an enemy with a high chance of death. Sakura was aware of hardship and suffering. No one could deny it. In her early years, she had lost a father, whom she now knew only by name and the tales her mother told her. Even yet, Haku was without a home. Her mother had been murdered by the man who had given birth to her, and her clan had been exterminated. Growing up in the bloody mist, one of the saddest periods of life, Zabuza was an orphan. All he had ever known was violence. Because of his habit of doing whatever it took to survive, they referred to him as a demon. In order to get extra points while exposing the sensation, Zabuza slaughtered his entire graduating class as a boy. Such folks would naturally move ahead of Sakura, a girl who still had memories of a caring mother and comfort. A hand was placed on her shoulder by Naruto. "Do not falter now, Sakura, it is too late to fear. You must act if you wish to live." Sakura gave a nod. "I understand, brother, I was just shaken a bit." Naruto raised his hand and turned at least 20 men to ashes with a burst of golden fire, saying, "Do not apologize to me. I want to see you take action and fight. This is what you wanted, so live with it." Sakura gave another nod. "She's hyping herself up. I will go," she exclaimed, drawing on her great inner strength and letting her demonic nature rule her. As the other two killed the heavenly scholars, she rushed into the air and joined them in battle. Naruto grinned. An anti-magic barrier materialized around him. The spells hurled at him merely vanished when they came into contact with him. At the start of the conflict, he had already started to envision his post-battle victory celebration, saying, "Tonight will definitely be restless." "Don't underestimate us," exclaimed one of them. They cast a strong charm on Naruto. Storm Dragon Lighting. The powerful spell slammed down with thunder on the barrier. Holy magic, the essence of the gods, was infused into it, which, if it fell on a demon, would poison its body irreversibly. In the worst situation, such things could result in death if the attack was powerful enough. Naruto turned, his eyes a fiery red as he scowled at the man. The attack Storm Dragon Lighting was a Leviathan-based magic that was frequently employed by their tribe. "Did you just use a dragon spell on me?" But since only his two wives, Tsunade and Albedo, were Leviathans, the clan was small. Naruto resurrected them as demons, transforming Tsunade and Shizun into one, in addition to himself and Sakura. There are just 5 Leviathan genuine bloods left. There would be consequences for such contempt. The man is brave enough to attack his own head with the attack of his clan. In order to maintain the barrier and make it a single assault, Naruto employed magic. He was attacked just seconds ago. Storm Dragon Lighting. The attack was launched as swiftly as a flash. It surprised the gods by darting about and snagging them all with its sharp jaw. They traveled far above the moon itself, past the clouds, into space, and up into the sky. It burst in a dazzling display of force and brightness comparable to a sun exploding. To prevent him from destroying all life, Naruto built a little barrier that contained all that power. Naruto said out loud, hoping Santari would hear him, "I held back but they still couldn't survive that. Man, you think your soldiers would train a little after so many years? Could it be that heaven has become lax in its continued domination of creation?" Both Santari and the other scholars of heaven heard it. "Don't speak of our paradise." Naruto sarcastically said, "Oh, Amitabha, I have sinned." He lifted one hand in a praying motion. Naruto smirked at the man and said, "Oh wait, that's the wrong god, I killed him after all." The mockery of the fallen god killed by Naruto, the 9 tails, and Sun Wukong made Santari grit his teeth. Waving down at Naruto, Santari exclaimed, "You shameless demon. Combine all of your power into one singular spell on that man." "No," a straightforward expression of disapproval. Naruto started to create a magic circle in the sky by releasing a portion of his aura onto the angels. As the ominous purple magic swept across the world once more, his demonic powers poured out of him in a display of complete might, letting everyone know that the walking evil is currently occupying the land. Visible tears streamed down the cheeks of the heavenly scholars, causing them to start shaking. Others grabbed their swords and gripped them so tightly that they lost feeling in their hands, while others shook uncontrollably and sobbed aloud. Santari's magic went awry and refused to obey his commands, causing his source to shudder in fear. Only his fellow demons were exempt from this. The same was true for the rest of them. Naruto managed the consequences of his plan with the help of Sasuke, Kakashi, and Tazuna. Naruto made fun of them once more, saying, "You better get your magic under control or it will blow up and kill you." He had to weaken their commitment even further to exacerbate the situation because it wasn't enough that they were gripped by terror. God, please save us, I don't wish to suffer anymore. They started sobbing and pleading for deliverance. As the others continued to slaughter, merely taking advantage of the opportunity to acquire easy kills, bodies began to fall from the sky. Zabuza shouted at Naruto, "Come on, it's no fun if you make them unable to fight back, instead." The man laughed. Naruto re-entered his body and magic, allowing the combat to resume. "You are right. I will let you run amok once more." The green-haired angel emerged behind Naruto, the Heavenly Scholars commander. Only God and Archangel Michael can match his swordsmanship. Naruto was perfectly cut when Santari's magic sword flashed down on his neck. Until Naruto's neck was shielded by a barrier, which stopped it. Santari continued to strike until, in a mere half-second, he had fired 52 sword strikes in various locations behind Naruto's back. Every time he swung, a fresh conjured barrier instead of Naruto's demonic flesh made contact with his blade. Naruto turned and casually swung his palm to swat the man away, asking, "Did you think because I wasn't looking, I'd be cut?" Santari was flung through the air by the encounter as if he had been flung by a giant's full might. As he crashed for many long miles, he carved a trench in the ocean of ice below. He's so strong, he shouldn't be capable of this much power. A demon leaving hell is automatically weakened due to the locking seal keeping all demons weak once they leave hell. Santari utilized Anagal to heal his wounds. "I don't understand, as long as the 4 primordial gods are alive, the seal should be in place. On top of him also being reincarnated, he should only be able to use 1/10 of his true power." Panic started to creep into Santari's thoughts. Is it possible that Naruto murdered the 4 primordial gods? How could they have missed it if he did? He focused, opened his senses, and looked. Till the 4 strong life forms were registered. They are still alive. Is he just that much stronger than me? Santari zoomed in on the battleground from his vantage point using magic eyes. Left and right, his soldiers were being massacred. This war was starting to take shape. Their army of heavenly scholars started to disintegrate with only 3 demons. He got up and returned to the battle using teleportation. They wouldn't lose. Santari would put an end to this. Not when God had so much faith in them and he was looking on. When he returned, he was surrounded by blood and bodies. Dead people, severed limbs, and blood were all over the bridge. The demons started to feed on the feelings in the air amid the mounting death and fear. Naruto inhales deeply. Interestingly, it gave him a sense of belonging. A faint smile of nostalgia began to appear on his face. Naruto started to miss home. Feels a bit like home. Blood, chaos, death, all of it. Isn't it invigorating, my demons? He got a corresponding yell of approval from Zabuza, Sakura, and Haku. In one stroke, Zabuza cut down a line of heavenly scholars, exclaiming, "Haha! What a party!" A ring of blood formed behind his back. It swung around in a circle. He pulled out another replica of his demon sword from behind him. 2 enormous broadswords were now in 2 hands. Zabuza's crazed laughter sent chills through his opponents' bodies as he enjoyed himself, creating innumerable bloody swords that rained down on them even above him. Haku walked about, controlling the battlefield with her power over cold and ice. She would create a lot of ice mirrors and shoot herself through them at untraceable speeds. Blood smeared her delicate complexion and all over her clothing. Sakura battled beside Haku, keeping pace with the girl as she tore them to pieces with her bare hands. She had already started using the style Naruto was teaching her. She was not a master, and Naruto had already identified weaknesses that the adversary was taking advantage of. Not just Sakura, but all of them. They had been seriously injured. After all, they were only babies. Naruto didn't anticipate that they would enter this situation and decimate the army. That was his responsibility. This just meant that his companions had to undergo deadly and rigorous training to build their strength. Naruto smoothed his blood-red, silky dress shirt down. He ran his fingers over the emerald gem that hung in the center of his bare chest. The firmness of his inner pecs was visible due to the slightly exposed collar. He smiled superiorly at Santari, one hand in his slender pants. The green gem gave out a faint glow. "Naruto, why do you keep unleashing your power? You're making my job harder." Naruto laughed in his head. "Sorry, Su-chan, just terrorizing gods, spawning demons, spreading death, ya know the usual." Naruto could almost see the frown on her face and hear the irritation in her voice as she spoke. "I can feel it. Some demons started attacking us. You also made our target run away, after I just tracked him down. I knew you'd find him, Good job, my future Hokage. As he purposefully infuriated her, Naruto sensed her dissatisfaction and rage. He enjoyed it when Tsunade fussed and cursed. Tsunade was aware of his occasional cynicism. Especially with her and Oda, Naruto enjoyed making fun of them. All because he enjoyed upsetting them and then quickly cleaning up his own mess. Oda and Tsunade could never remain insane, and were irritated that he continued to find new ways to upset them even after hundreds of years had gone by. Anyways, hun, I've got the first one's magical energy signature memorized. I can easily find him again, even through his magical barriers of concealment. Naruto ordered, okay, I'll tell you when to kill him. I got it, and Shizun is also coming to update you on some things. Tsunade replied. I will see you later, love you. Through their connection, Naruto was able to sense her affection. They both smiled at the same thing and communicated their feelings to one another. Love you too, now. Let me get this present for my sweet Oda-chan. After their telepathy ended, Naruto stopped Santari's next blow. Santari had been viciously hitting him during the entire conversation with Tsunade. Naruto glanced at the man whose sword he was grasping with his fingers and said, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Santari snarled. Second hidden art. Prolong. Naruto halted his motions as he swung once again and found himself imprisoned in a place of delayed time, Celestial Saber. Naruto was the target of a strong attack that split the heavens, sliced the ice below, and dug a new hole deep below the earth. Santari gasped. He had been trying to attack Naruto with a lot of magic, however, he should have eventually landed his most powerful attack, which had the capacity to destroy an entire nation. Naruto stood completely well, mocking the man, saying, not quite. I thought you slashed a demon from another dimension. What is this? You can't even pierce my skin. Sorry, it looks like you at least got dirt on my shirt. Naruto shrugged it off and crossed his arms. How? That should have. Naruto declared, this battle is over. He started to drift slowly in Santari's direction, and he calmed down. The spell, Rune of Movement, was cast by Santari. It was a containment spell, not just any magic. Under Naruto's feet, it spawned. Instead of moving or destroying, the Demon King let the magic to do its work. Naruto suddenly found himself in a very other place. A sea of blue and white surrounded him. He felt as though he was imprisoned in a cloud-patterned sky. As Naruto glanced about, he saw that everything was imbued with magic and was moving and full of life. It was clearly Santari's own creation, as evidenced by his magic eyes. Naruto felt something on his body and said, how interesting, he's trapped me in his own dimension. He could see his torso cut and dripping blood when he looked down. Naruto arched an eyebrow and asked, he's able to cut me now? He closed his eyes and concentrated on his senses. Naruto found out what was happening by searching without his eyes. Santari had a natural dominance over this pocket world, which was confined to nothing but holy magic and empty space. A chuckle escaped his lips. Once more, Naruto felt a cut open on his body until he was completely covered in wounds. Very unique. You control the laws here. And you've made a law allowing you to cut me freely. This must be where your rumor comes from. Then his head. Santari's personal field outside of Gotcha's dimension. He put his blade back in its sheath and smiled. That's right, I killed him. Everyone was alerted by his statements. The others turned to find Santari, who was slightly hurt, smiling. You what? Sakura exclaimed, her eyes of destruction flaring as she scowled at the man. Haku and Zabuza attempted to assault him from his left and right, but Santari stopped them. Begone. Heaven wheel. He whirled, slicing the two devils across the chest like a knife. As the tide of battle finally turned, the remaining heavenly scholars cheered, your short evil lives end here. Embrace our holy light, then. Since Naruto had taken care to eliminate his fair share, there were only 630 of them remaining. Sakura said angrily, what did you do to my brother? If she hadn't been hit by magic, she would have screamed at the man. Santari said coolly, he's dead. I took his head off. The greatest evil in the world has been vanquished. Now everything would proceed according to plan. Santari shifted once more, positioned himself in front of Zabuza, and used a single slice to remove his right arm. Zabuza-sama, said Haku in utter terror and fear. She launched a huge, expansive building of ice toward Santari as the air froze. It was so large and so wide that it almost shadowed the bridge. Santari used his magic sword to tear the building to pieces without blinking. He pointed two fingers at Haku and said, light rays. Haku dodged the blow by ducking into a mirror. Santori disappeared behind Haku as he sped out of the mirror, letting Haku pass through him as though he hadn't been there. Santori reappeared above Haku, the sword pointing downward as she prepared to slit Haku through. He pinned the girl to the bridge entirely by doing so. She was slammed to the ground, and Haku winced. Santori pointed 2 fingers at Haku's heart, aiming for the source, and said, "Back to hell." Santori struck Zabuza behind him, who was pierced once more, at the last second. However, Zabuza used his recently developed arm to toss his enormous demon sword before taking off. Santori blocked with his own weapon, but he was knocked off Haku and slammed into the wall. Should have dodged. Yes, you should have. Santori's eyebrows almost shot into his hairline, and he froze. Even without the ice demon, he could feel the blood in his veins growing colder. There was nothing there when he plucked up the fortitude to turn. That was the Demon King's voice, though. Santori's jaw was ripped off, and he felt his brain bounce off his skull after being hit in the cheek. Santori lost his balance and fell to his knees. "Come on, that was just a light jab. My wife can hit harder than I can." Santori used the healing spell Enchel. Santori gripped his blade and screamed, "How are you alive? I cut off your head and sealed you." Naruto grinned and said, "Yes, you did. I just regrew my head and destroyed that dimension." Santori knew that demons were weak, so she said, "No, that's not possible. That place is flooded with holy magic. It should have suppressed you more than you already are. Naruto should therefore have been in a sea of poison in the blessed dimension. What about the holy magic? Your body should still be poisoned." Naruto gave a finger snap. His body exuded a sense of devastation. Gone. Naruto just ran his corrosive magic through his body, using his power and body control. The poison was assaulted, and the particles were quickly destroyed by his destruction. Santori tightened his jaw. Santori put his sword in front of him and said, "All right, I'll just kill you out here," putting all of his magic into his upcoming assault. What Santori was doing was observed by the other scholars. They collected their own magical energy and started directing it straight into Santori, who became more powerful as a result. Gazing at the magic circle over Santori, Naruto observed, "Gize, you're all sharing your power with him." A demon sword swiftly materialized in Naruto's hand as he opened his palm. "You don't know true power, I'll show you." Bright starlight slash. Naruto merely grinned as the golden beam of light swung down at him. Since the day he was born, he had never witnessed such a powerful attack. Not enough. It was more of a casual flick of the wrist. Santori's strike was easily defeated by the force that exploded from that move. Naruto discovered that Santori was doing well after everything had cleaned up. He had no cuts at all. That's because he was shielded by a golden, translucent barrier. One that had been cast by Santori or any of the others. Naruto noticed a huge hole in the sky when he looked up. He could hear music emanating from the hole, which emitted white light. A person emerged through the giant white gates. It was a god, not only a figure. His long, exquisite black hair was crowned with a golden tower, making him both holy and powerful. Another eye was concealed by a scarlet slit between their eyebrows. An embroidered robe fit snugly over his frame, and he had perfect blue eyes and healthy skin. There was a chuckle. They all looked and recognized Naruto. "Jade Emperor, I didn't think you'd want to see me again." The man smiled nostalgically. "I should say that to you. Where is that monkey and fox you were with last time? I already know what happened with the priest. That monkey ate her whole right." Sakura's expression was filled with worry and a hint of fatigue as she floated up beside Naruto. "Brother, who is that?" "That, my dear sister, is the Jade Emperor. A powerful deity who only listens to God himself. An old acquaintance who helped me in the past," replied Naruto. He was fully aware of the god in front of him. He was still trying everything he could to gain power hundreds of years after he was Demon King, so how could he not? "We ran into a monkey stuck underneath a mountain. Freeing him led to adding the Sun Wukong to our group of allies after fighting, of course. Then we escorted a priest to the west of hell, Kurama, Wukong, and I," Naruto continued. The Jade Emperor said, "And at the end of their long and dangerous journey, they battled a mighty god, Buddha, and killed him." He was now just a few yards away from Naruto, on an even playing field. But it left them weak since they had to leave hell in order to finish their journey. "So 3 weakened demons beat my good old pal Buddha." Naruto said, "Ha, old pal. You hated Buddha." As though oblivious to Naruto's words, the Jade Emperor went on, "Once they killed the god, I thought about finishing the job. But I am a god, I can be merciful. So I threw the 3 a bone and sent them back to hell. I see my decision led to drastic consequences. It did. Sakura saw the two men look at each other. She could reach out and twist it because of how tense things were. Standing on the ground beside Haku, who was equally prepared for anything that may come her way, Zabuza continued to scan the area. Sakura couldn't see it because it happened so fast. After being hit, Naruto flew. The Jade Emperor flew through the air in response to this action. What just happened? Sakura exclaimed, scanning the area for any other potential dangers. The Jade Emperor was floating back into the hole, saying, "Back to paradise, scholars." Now, his hands were held behind his back, and he appeared calm rather than as though he had just been hit. "Even now, you don't think you can beat me. That's why you really let me go that day. You know, you can tell I have it." Today she is standing straight and unharmed. With the destruction magic circle now in his eyes, he gazed straight into the Jade Emperor's eyes. The Jade Emperor's languid ocean blue eyes meet Naruto's brilliant red of destruction. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Only God knows. Everyone, or at least those who were still alive, flew back into the hole after hearing that final sentence. "Is it over?" inquired Sakura. Naruto fell down to the ground and started to walk to the end of the destroyed bridge, saying, "It is. They're back in heaven." Kakashi was still unable to speak. No fighting was visible to him. He saw it as a series of falling bodies, spells, and flashing colors. He was unable to track these happenings because not even his Sharingan could slow them down. No. The bridge. Tsunade collapsed to the ground and her eyes began to well up with tears. Naruto turned to face the sobbing man and gazed at the deteriorating bridge, saying, "Oh, that's right, we had a mission." There were corpses and blood puddles everywhere. With glowing eyes, Naruto turned to the bridge and said, "I'll clean up my mess and even help you out." The bridge that had been shattered was now pristine, and everything flashed purple before disappearing. It was finished, not merely clean. Made of stone, it is tall and powerful. A little extra for the trouble. Naruto noticed a group of people at the end of the bridge. "I forgot about you, Gato, let's make this quick." The man crossed the bridge with a gang of thugs in tow. "Zabuza, you pathetic piece of shit. Why the hell is this bridge done? And why is Tsunade still alive? I gave you a second chance and this is how you repay me," he exclaimed. "Whatever, I wasn't paying you anyways." Zabuza snarled at the man, saying, "Y'all little shit, I'll send you straight to hell." Naruto passed by just as he was ready to go. After passing by, Naruto let his gaze fall on Gato and said, "Hold on, Zabuza, Gato owes me something." The weak, malevolent little man who was unaware of his own limitations had not changed at all. "Been a while, hasn't it, Gato? I see you are taking to your new life well." Gato turned to face the figure who loomed over him. When he felt it, his legs started to shake violently and his heart fell. Years ago, he sold his soul to this man, who was the demon. All of his achievement was due to Naruto. Naruto had granted him wealth beyond his wildest expectations with a single snap of his finger. Gato bought a mine shaft with this money, the same mine shaft where he worked as a slave every day. In order to obtain the river of gold beneath, Gato worked them to death. However, there was a cost associated with it, which Gato failed to remember. Naruto seized Gato's enormous head and merely lifted his arm, saying, "Your soul." This motion was followed by a transparent, purple replica of Gato. Naruto, the man's soul, swung the object around as if it were a damp towel. Naruto simply hurled the soul to the ground, where a doorway of yelling souls opened, saying, "I do not want this thing." Gato's soul was dropped into the hole by Naruto. Naruto laughed and said, "That guy is so dead." He turned to face the other goons. "All right, Zabuza, go on and kill these guys." "Pleasure," Zabuza exclaimed, flashing a crazy smile as he hurried the thugs. All of the human blood was drawn into the ring, which spun on Zabuza's back. Naruto looked down at Haku and remarked, "After this, just relax. I'll give you an update on your orders later." She smiled and looked excited when he patted her head. She said, still grinning, "Yes, my lord," and relished the attention. Tsunade arrived and repeatedly congratulated Naruto, saying, "Thank you, Naruto. I appreciate it. You saved this country." Naruto just told him everything was okay and waved him away. Kakashi pulled down his headband and covered his eye, saying, "Well, let's go back and rest for the night." He needed some time to digest what he had just witnessed because he was more than perplexed. Tsunade strolled by herself along the gravel road. "I'm still a little irritated with Naruto right now. She was in the land of lightning, on an archipelago. Her current goal was to locate someone who had hurriedly gone after sensing Naruto's power release, which is why she was here. To vent her aggravation, she even thought about punching this entire island chain. To calm herself or risk using her eyes of destruction to truly destroy this place, Tsunade took a sip from her gourd. A week earlier, she was similarly intrigued by a particular person. As Naruto had predicted, Mito had come down from heaven. He really had the best planning and intelligence she had ever encountered in her life. It was what was left of her past, Mito. It was a battle and a marathon when Tsunade turned into a demon and Naruto's mate. She was flattered that Naruto wanted her. Before Naruto won her over, she resisted for 3 years. Tsunade was being incredibly obstinate and would kindly tell Naruto to fuck off. Naruto continued to follow them across Earth without showing any concern. What had made him fall for her? She was constantly reminded by Naruto. Her power, however, she described herself as feeble. Her beauty, however, she referred to herself as a wrinkled old lady. Her achievements, however, she viewed them as outdated accomplishments. It turns out that Naruto was a romantic who wasn't embarrassed to kiss her. He is never defeated by a punch, it merely pushes him on. His sincerity, deference, and the things he did for her and her loyal friend Shizun were what ultimately won her over. The young woman who was hauled around the globe. Tsunade was appreciative. To her, the girl resembled a daughter. That's why Naruto went after the crafty dragon first. She lacked the necessary experience to handle a man such as Naruto. Her youth has been restored by Naruto. She no longer required the genjutsu because Tsunade could move about on her own. She had regained her youth, and the years she had wasted traveling the world had returned to her. Even though the man was unaware of it, Naruto protected her from lustful Jiraiya, demon slayers, and frightening demons. Naruto had won her heart, case in point. However, he was careful to assure her that Tsunade would not be left in his affection alone. Naruto was already wedded to Aima at this point, and he had his sights set on Oda and Albedo, 2 more ladies. He even used Shizun as a retainer, much like Curtis, and made sure to include Shizun in all events. Naruto referred to her as his Lil Shizun and treated her as a concubine. She would go to any lengths for him. Even pass away in such a circumstance. She gazed out at the mountains, islands, and ocean. There was beauty in devastation, and life was a lovely thing. "Excuse me, are you Tsunade's Senju?" Tsunade turned, seeing the person before they spoke. "No, I'm Albedo." A man was there. One of the eerie variety. Tall, empty-eyed, and pale-skinned. Only the top of his black hair was tied back in a ponytail, and his eyes were a black hole devoid of pupils. His eyebrows were nearly unnoticeable due to their razor thinness. Tsunade saw a black diamond on his chin, a mark beneath his left eye, and a Roman numeral. She didn't look amused, and the man didn't blink. After following her around for over 2 hours, this guy was starting to irritate her. She had no desire to be stalked. He pointed a finger at her from his white robe and said, "I am Jigen, you are Tsunade's Senju. Inheritor of the Senju bloodline, I need you to come with me." "Why?" she inquired. Tsunade took another sip while continuing to watch the odd man. "If you want me to heal someone you better be paying." Jigen said, "Not to heal, but I do need your talents." Tsunade was about to inquire again, but she refrained. She almost destroyed his soul with her magic eyes, but she held back. This Jigen had cage-killing strength and was extremely strong. She was unable to identify Jigen because she had never seen or heard of him. "Will there be sake? I can arrange to get you some if it will make you comply." Tsunade threw the sake bottle into the air, and a few seconds later it landed into a gateway. "Okay, let's go." She saw that Jigen's eyes were empty in surprise, only to immediately kill it off. Jigen inquired, "You know space-time ninjutsu?" "Something like that." Jigen was strong, but not more powerful than Tsunade, and she didn't particularly want to keep things secret from him. "Can you fly?" He was taken aback once more. Jigen, however, nodded, and raised into the air. Tsunade trailed behind, and with a huge boom, they shot off through the skies. Team 7 had long since settled into their surroundings at Tsunade's home, bringing the house to the house as a place of safety and complete relaxation, even for Sakura, who was a little shaken. Naruto tried his best to soothe the girl, but she would need time to adjust to everything because a lot had happened during this assignment. The power, the culture, the desires. Kakashi, too, had been watching him closely. However, Naruto ignored the man and smiled as he greeted Tsunami. They could all see how kind and truthful Naruto was to the women. A throwback to his childhood with Mebuki, he had a special spot for single mothers. Tsunami was ecstatic to learn that the bridge was completed and even more so to learn that Gato had been dead at last. She virtually begged Naruto to allow her to cook him a lunch, so how could he say no? Tsunami made him a large dish once he sat down, much to his amusement because not even Tazuna had as much. When Tsunami placed the plate down, she kissed the old man's cheek, almost causing him to faint. They all dispersed and retired to their rooms after dinner. Prior to that, Naruto handed Sasuke a fire jutsu scroll. The Uchiha accepted the scroll without hesitation at all. This implied that he was gradually luring the youngster in. He would see what Naruto had to offer after another battle, perhaps some more bravado in front of him. Another promised child would be tempted once more. When Naruto eventually turned Sasuke to his side, he would love to see the white dragon's face. After dinner, they all went to their rooms. Everything changed when Naruto shut his door and space distorted. The slightly dilapidated and wooden chamber was gone. It was now a traditional elegant room. It was the cozy, vintage style that he enjoyed. A low black table with sliding doors, dark tatami mats, and cozy pillows. Strongly perfumed candles lit the space, and the smell of old oak filled the air. The candles originated from the scent of demonic plants from hell. Shizun, however, who was patiently seated with some papers on the table, was the greatest thing in the room. A bottle of sake and a few cups were also present. Shizun was instructed to wait here by Naruto while he completed his tasks downstairs. This is a different plane from their reality. The only reason Naruto built this was to have a cozy space in which to make plans for the future or, if he so desired, to sleep. Thanks for waiting, Shizun. I didn't want to make you wait, Naruto replied. He removed his shoes and inhaled the aroma deeply once more. No problem at all, Naruto-sama. She bowed confidently as she stood, smiling. He returned the smile. He observed Shizun's beauty. She had lovely short bangs and short black hair that almost reached her shoulders. From here he could smell her hair. It was a creamy vanilla, sweat. Large, lovely black eyes that like priceless gems. Her slender, attractive figure was completely covered by a dark kimono. He appreciated that he knew what was underneath it all. He frequently indulged in what was underneath it all. Shizun sensed his gaze. She could see his longing in those liquid black and crimson eyes. As he got closer to her, it became evident what vibe he was sending. Everything in the room was overpowered by it up close. Her head barely touched Naruto's chest, and she held it back while gazing up at him, making her appear short in front of him. Her cheeks were burning. He was quite near. If the woman wasn't looking up, all she could see was the toned line of his pecs. Shizun prayed Naruto wouldn't see the faint shuddering in her kimono-covered legs. Shizun's face landed on his bare flesh as he pulled her into his arms, pushing it against the necklace Tsunade had given him. Fortunately, he was unable to see her flushed face. "En Naruto-sama," stuttered Shizun. "Yes." His deep voice, husky and full of instinctive passion, reverberated in her ears. I must report our duties to you." Naruto gave a nod. His two arms clung to her, refusing to let go. He ran his hands down her back and grabbed Shizun's sensitive butt. He felt her jump a little in his arms. She was such a reserved woman. Naruto adored that aspect of Shizun. She had a respectful grace and beauty, and she was quiet and reserved. She groaned into his chest, "Naruto-sama." Naruto grasped her ass and palmed it, causing her hips to bounce from side to side. "I should report F first." A wry smirk tugged at Naruto's lips. He grabbed Shizun's chin and raised it just enough to make her look him in the eyes. "You're always working so hard. Tonight, you are mine." She felt a chill go through her body. She couldn't wait to stay the night with Naruto. To touch his tongue, his hands, his eyes. Shizun could already feel her core hurting and her body heating up. Unsure of how to react, she simply smiled shyly at him, allowing her own wants to seep into her dark eyes. Naruto drew her down into his lap on the padded brown pillow and said, "But yes, tell me about the things as we drink." Because Shizun's back was pressed against Naruto's chest, he could see over her shoulder. Naruto's elongated leg was touched by Shizun's hand. She took the bottle of sake and poured him a cup. In a single motion, Naruto reclaimed the cup by accepting it with his free hand. Before he slowly stroked his thumb, his left hand followed Shizun's tightly, going up and down. All of his girlfriends adored it, and it never failed in that order. Naruto clutched the leg he was holding and whispered into her ear, "You too, Shizun-chan. I want us both to enjoy tonight." They both took swallows of the flaming liquid when she nodded and poured them drinks. Shizun cleared her throat a little and picked up the first page. She wasn't heavy. Everyone was aware of it, and they frequently made fun of her for it. This is a report from Shizuka. She has taken over a hidden pond village and has begun to reconstruct it. Sitting on the edge of the Earth Country, stone ninja have been poking their noses. Leaf ninjas have also been tracking them and trying to invade their other villages in Fire Country. Shizun concluded her summary of the report. Then she sipped the branded sake of Tsunade. Very good. And she is still ready for the Chunin exams, right? Yes, she and 2 other kunoichi from hell will be attending. Naruto lifted his cup and took another sip, asking, did she put their names? Izuga and Usurori. Naruto immediately considered what he should do next. He was certain that the leaf would undoubtedly pay attention to the villages being occupied in their nation. In addition to the conflicts with the Jashinists. Given how frequently their followers were dying, it was clear that the demon was having a tantrum in hell. Why had he ordered their mass slaughter? Considering that Jashin was a person who needed attention. Naruto was also aware that Onoki would react violently to any disruption in his nation. He would thus agitate the fence-sitter. Kage was unaware that Naruto needed to take care of something in his nation. And Naruto would simply demolish Stone Country if his cult didn't attract them. He saw the inhabitants of this earth as nothing more than human fodder in the middle of reckoning. All they can do is watch helplessly as everything they've ever known crumbles in front of them. Shizun said, would you like to give her instructions? Naruto hummed. Rubbing Shizun's leg idly. Her long, velvety thighs remained substantial. As he massaged and squeezed her thigh, Naruto could feel the muscles there. Naruto didn't want a raid on their cult to occur just yet, so he told her to calm down. Tell her to ease up. Their presence is being felt. So lay low until I give the order. Eventually, when they were too important to ignore. Naruto kissed Shizun's face, licked her ear, and let his hand to slide up her kimono, asking, what's next? He continued to bombard her face while rubbing her stomach and even cupping her breast. She released a gratifying groan from her throat. As the temperature rose, the sake swiftly seized her. Sweat began to trickle under her robe and down her face. Just a bit more, my lord. Please, if you could allow me to finish. You know I can just process all of this in an instant, right? Shizun replied, I do. She tried to dissolve beneath the heat emanating from them both as she retreated farther into his body. I am just enjoying this. I rarely get to relax so comfortably like this. Only when we're back home do I feel so at ease. It's just you and me, in this private dimension that nobody can enter. And you wish to spend the night with me as we drink. I want to take my time and enjoy it all. Naruto could fully comprehend. Shizun was constantly with her master, Tsunade, and was never alone. On the contrary, she did not despise it. She cherished every moment and adventure she shared with Tsunade. Nevertheless, Tsunade was a pain in the ass and occasionally felt like a babysitter. Thus, she would spend time with Naruto or the others at times like this. It was incredible. The others would frequently spoil her in this way, and she would soon feel loved and ecstatic. This was one of those nights and days that will never be replicated. Naruto held Shizun-chan close to his chest and said, I understand, Shizun-chan. I love you and I'm just very eager tonight. It's been a long week without any of you. Shizun's heart raced at his words, and she longed to just throw the papers away and serve her lord. Naruto nibbled her ear and kissed her cheek, saying, my little Shizun. As Naruto kissed her neck, Shizun turned her head and said, Naruto-sama, why do you still call me that? Her nether regions were rubbed by his hand. Because I like saying it. That's not a good reason, Naruto-sama. He continued to do what he was doing and added, don't care, can you fill my cup back up? Shizun poured himself a cup, thankful for the distraction. As a thank you, she got another kiss. Pulling up the next paper, the woman was ready to report. Inside a small room, Tsunade sat at a table. It has 2 built-in lamps and gray stone walls. A brick fireplace stood off in the middle of the wall. Jigen was eating a blood steak across from her at the end of the table. Tsunade refused to eat anything at the moment, but he had offered her one. She simply wanted to know what Jigen desired, which is what brought her to this predicament. At the table, they weren't alone themselves either. A blonde with curly hair who was really slender and attractive. Her blonde hair and lips were both dyed yellow. Her eyes were pale purple, with yellow eye makeup and vertical lines through them. Like herself, there was a symbol in the middle of her forehead. The Roman numeral, probably the letter I. She wore vertically striped black and pink slacks tucked into high white shoes and a turquoise shirt that showed off her chest. With the exception of the tuft of white hair at the top of his head, the enormous man opposite the blonde was going bald. He had 2 vents on the side of his skull, which was odd. His white beard and bushy mustache complemented his aged appearance. He ate steak and covered his bulky frame with a cloak. There was another elderly man beside Tsunade. He had a white beard and glasses dyed orange. He reclined back in his wooden chair and held a lighted cigarette in his lips. Jigen introduced the members, saying, "Tsunade, this is Delta, Boro, and Amato. My comrades and members of Kara." Delta nodded and glanced up and down at her. Amato avoided looking at her, but Boro smiled and shook his large head. He gave her some substandard sake, at least. "So, what do you want? 'Cause if this is a date, you need to rethink your strategy." Tsunade arched an eyebrow at his terse remark. "I wish to use you." "For?" Jigen said. "Do you know about the chakra fruit?" Rather than responding. The legend was known to Tsunade. She did not, however, divulge her knowledge of such. She only knew because Naruto was aware of it. Tsunade noticed the man smirking and said, "No, I don't. I'll tell you. The chakra fruit is made from a divine tree grown from the chakra of the planet. As long as said planet has life, a divine tree will suck away all the chakra of the planet and grow a chakra fruit. This normally takes up to 1,000 years, however, said process can be sped up. Otsutsuki often uses this method to eat as many fruits as possible." Tsunade put on a struggle face, as if she was having trouble processing the information. "Okay, I understand. And I'm guessing this divine tree seed is planted by these Otsutsuki to eat, right?" she asked. "You are smart, Tsunade Senju. To catch on to that so fast." Jigen put his knife and fork down gently after finishing his steak. "Care to guess how the process is sped up?" It was not concealed by Tsunade. She gave an eye roll. "You feed someone to the tree, right? But do you even have said tree? I think the world would notice something like that." Jigen looked into her eyes and said, "That is where you come in, Tsunade Senju." His eyes now had an eerie appearance. "You are a Senju, holder of the wood-style bloodline. I will use that very DNA of yours to craft the divine tree from your body." Tsunade chuckled softly. She swigged from the sake cup once more. This was hilarious. Reaching for her man's consciousness, she said, "Hey, Naruto, I've run into some Otsutsuki trying to use my body as a divine tree." She waited for his response. "That's something. Do whatever you want. I'm with Shizun, I'll be keeping her for the night." "What? I'm here underground about to be sacrificed by some creepy space alien, and you are fucking Shizun." No answer. The bottle Tsunade was clutching shatters into a million fragments as she grits her teeth. The table's occupants leapt back and prepared to fight. Everyone except Jigen, who remained seated. "Do not worry, this won't hurt. You will serve a higher purpose and be the groundwork for a god," Jigen replied. Tsunade scowled at the man as her power started to flow out of her body. "A god, you say? I can send you to him." "No, I'll send you to hell for sure. Make sure you tell Elbito-chan I sent you." Tsunade held up a palm and teleported Delta to another location, saying, "You girl, I like you. So you'll be spared." Jigen's eyes widened slightly as he looked at Tsunade and said, "What is this? It is not chakra." Tsunade remarked, "Don't worry about it. You'll know soon enough." The air was filled with purple magic, and the whole place started to tremor and vibrate. The golden fire clapped and flashed as Tsunade called it to her palms. "This is my dragon flame. Pure demonic magic born from my Leviathan blood. It will destroy you and everything around us." When Jigen's black rod reached Tsunade, it just burnt when it came in contact with her. Jumping at her, he ran at full speed in an attempt to absorb the force. Die. The flash was brilliant. Everything went dead silent, and his vision filled with gold. In addition to him, Boro and Amato nearby were also harmed by Dragon Flame's outburst. The subterranean base erupted in a frenzied display of devastating might. The area was reduced to burned grass and trees, and the chaotic explosion could be felt for thousands of miles in all directions. The golden flames destroyed everything, bringing an abrupt end to the lives of even the neighboring villages. The ground, the air, the ashes, and the yelling victims of Tsunade's strength were all consumed by the golden flames, leaving nothing standing. Tsunade drifted amid the waning light. Her fire consumed everything it came into contact with, making it hotter than the sun itself. Space, flesh, magic, or the cries of defenseless bodies. She threw into the blazing flames the cup and the shitty sake she had been sipping. As long as Tsunade had magic, the fire would continue to burn for however long she desired. Additionally, her magic stores were comparable to Naruto's seemingly limitless magic reserves. Tsunade sighed and said, "Much better. That bastard, trying to sacrifice me. He even tried placing his little mark on me. She chuckled. Claimed that Otsutsuki, whose true name was Ashiki, would be in hell waiting for her. She used her gadam, and a blonde with curling hair emerged from the green magic spell. The hell? She surveyed her surroundings. She could feel some unseen power containing and controlling her body. Tsunade was using her power to subdue the girl, saying, "Hey, I decided to spare you from the fate of your buddies down there." The woman saw the ongoing devastation when she looked down. How? And why did you? Tsunade stepped forward and ran her palm over her cheek, saying, "He tried to kill me. It's only natural that I do the same. And as to why I saved you." Tsunade murmured softly, "You were lonely and bored. Suffering in silence as you live day by day." She read a little of the girl's thoughts by using her power. Delta appeared taken aback. That was not what she expected. "Don't talk like you know me. If you blew the lab up, it means I'm going to die, you idiot." "I know that now. Since you aren't human but a cyborg, I'm keeping you alive with my magic. I'll resurrect you as one of my subordinates. You've got a sparky personality that I like." Delta stumbled. "What are you saying? Don't be ridiculous." Two purple chakra beams that would totally destroy anything they came into contact with shot out of her eyes as they blazed purple. The two laser beams pierced Tsunade, who did not duck. Two more blood-leaking holes appeared on her lips, and blood poured forth. As her strike came in, she noticed Delta's smug grin. "Very nice, durability negating chakra beams. They're my destruction beams. Do you like it?" The name made Tsunade giggle. "I do." Delta's eyes widened as the holes suddenly closed. She also repaired her haori and robe with magic, amused as she watched Delta stumble over her words. "Come on, Delta, I'll give you a new life." Like a kite in the sky, Tsunade took off and dragged Delta with her, leaving the blazing fire to illuminate the region like a giant bonfire. Shizun exhaled, "And that is the last of it, my beloved king." The sake and arousal caused her face to flush. 25 minutes passed. There was groping and moaning during those minutes. She had to choose between filling her own cup and Naruto's. His desire to have a drink with her persisted. The fact that Naruto so much desired her made her happy. That he wanted to be alone with her in an enclosed location tonight. When Tsunade began talking to Naruto in her head, she nearly believed that he would pause and bring the woman here. However, he didn't, and the underlying resentment and jealousy were smothered. He pampered her with his touch for 5 minutes. Someone had carefully pulled off her robe. He gave her a gentle shoulder kiss before turning her head for a forceful kiss on her neck, ear, and face. Her toes curled and her breath had been snatched. Her spirit closed in ecstasy, even deep within. Naruto was kissing Shizun from behind while putting his hand over her tummy and saying, "Good, now we handle the real business." Kissing her lightly beneath her hair on the back of her neck. The effects of the booze were evident. His cheeks turned scarlet, and he let himself become a victim of the sake. Shizun's hands were made of putty. Naruto then removed her fishnet top, which was preventing his hand from contacting her smooth skin. Shizun turned to him and shifted in his lap, saying, "Naruto-sama, please, let me undress you." She could touch him now that she was in his presence. He began by keeping his arms in his flimsy red button-up. She stepped forward and gave Naruto a gentle, deeper kiss, letting Naruto use his tongue to examine her mouth. Naruto murmured, his eyes black with need and lust, "Go on." He spoke in a rich, husky voice. She moved her tiny, fragile hands to unbutton his shirt. Not taking his eyes off her, Naruto fumbled a little with the buttons. She would attribute it to the morning drinks. "Give me a kiss." She was required to stop working in the middle of her task and bend down to kiss him. His abdomen was now visible. It was made of solid, thin muscle that appeared to have been handcrafted. Distracted, she began massaging his abdomen. She ran her delicate finger over each muscle, feeling it warm to the touch. Once more, his voice growled, "Almost there." She completed the final 2 buttons after nodding. Shizun was prepared to see the entire thing, and his shirt now hung limply to the side. Shizun took off his shirt, so Naruto didn't even have to explain what to do next. Shizun's turn came now. She kissed his face in various places. He was kissed on the lips above his left eye, leaving bruises on his neck. Worshipping the thick, powerful muscle, Shizun gave him a gentle shoulder kiss. She licked his neck, letting her tongue loose. Shizun halted as he said, your tongue goes somewhere else." Being aware of his desires. As her lips moved south, she paused to plant a kiss on his chest, focusing especially on his stomach. He had Shizun at his belt. Eager to wield the most powerful demon sword in the entire underworld, her hands moved swiftly. She hesitated as she looked up. She looked adorable with her large eyes and red cheeks. Naruto chuckled slowly. He gazed into her large black eyes and said, "And you wonder why I call you my little Shizun?" She scowled and said, "Stop it." As the tension increased, Shizun carefully downed his zipper and removed the belt. It was finally down, and because its seal had been broken, it didn't need any more time. Her prize emerged. At attention, standing hunched over, like a finger curled slightly, it was ideal since Naruto could always scratch the surface of her tunnels because its bend, and its curvature just made it easier for him to dive in and out of her. It hung above her, and Shizun vanished behind it. Its strong odor filled her nostrils, and she could feel the heat. Curling around it, she felt the heat as her finger gripped its rigidity. It was eager, and she felt it bounce and pulse in her hand. Shizun could already see it seeping from the tip, its pre-cum lathering her hand. Shizun grinned. Her lord's strong erection was due to her. One hand wasn't enough, so she started sliding both up and down to cover more ground. In her hands, it was pleasant. Shizun thought it was fantastic. She took it in her mouth and used more. She swirled her tongue around the tip initially, sucking only on it. She undressed and gave his dick's crown a devoted kiss. She moistened the remainder with her tongue. She started sucking because she had had enough. When Shizun was finally able to put Naruto's dick in her mouth, she was overjoyed. She could tell Naruto was too, based on his moans. Her head shifted up and down. Go slowly, not all the way to the base, but far enough down so she could no longer see it. She sucked and her tongue came out. Her mouth almost sucked the skin off the base as she licked it. Naruto perched on his arms and gazed excitedly as Shizun bobbed up and down on his dick, saying, "That's good, Shizun-chan." Naruto placed a palm on Shizun's head and said, "Look at me." He put his hand on her head and her eyes met his. He only rubbed the top of her head, not pressuring her yet. She'd impress him now. It only took a single motion. She had removed everything. By now, Shizun's leaking spit and saliva had discolored the crotch of Naruto's jeans. Naruto let out a grunt. That was not what he expected. Then Naruto smiled, flashing his teeth. He took hold of her hair and started to manipulate her movements, saying, "Don't stop now." As Shizun slurped and sucked on Naruto's dick, the sound of her sloppy, wet gawking filled the room. She would be noisy without shame. After all, it was just them. He looked her in the eyes and said, "I'm about to come, Shizun-chan. Will you take it all for me?" As she sucked Naruto off, her face blazed red as he asked her these kinds of things, which usually caused her to react in this way. Shizun, however, nodded naturally, anticipating the prize for her efforts. Naruto was allowing himself to relax and relinquish control over his body. Shizun's head was pulled all the way down by Naruto. As he let his sperm fall down Shizun's throat, he felt his balls bounce and stiffen. Naruto let go of Shizun's head and led her to raise it. After swallowing, Shizun returned to Naruto. His toes curled rapidly and his lips opened. After he busted, Shizun continued to suck. She made the most of the tip's sensitivity at that precise moment. Naruto remarked, "I see Tsunade's been teaching you." Without ever removing her hands or lips from his dick, she nodded in agreement. "Enough of that, I want more." With a pop, Shizun pulled off. His leaning meat tower was left dripping and slippery. She remained on her knees, at the ideal height for his dick, while he stood and asked, "En Naruto-sama, was that good enough?" She still licked and kissed it despite how near it was. Her core was prepared, and Naruto could see the pool beneath her. It was. But as you can see, it wasn't enough. "It seems like you're ready." Shizun said, "I am." She got up and walked over to Naruto, wrapping her arms around his neck. He tasted himself on her lips as he kissed her. Naruto gave Shizun another clap on both cheeks, causing her to jump. She could feel it jiggling, and this time it was difficult. Naruto told her once more to get on the bed, lay on your back. With obvious intent, she turned and moved to the low bed, shaking her hips, moving left and right while putting one leg in front of the other with the hips out. When she reached the bed, she turned. She took a seat first, sank back, and gave Naruto a desperate glance. He trailed, reaching the bed's edge. His palm, which was a little sticky from the fluids streaming down her leg, followed up her inner thigh. His finger in first. "Do you want me, my little Shizun?" he asked. The woman let out a moan as he wiggled them about. Shizun groaned. "Ah, why yes, I am ready. I want you, Naruto-sama." His finger dug further, exploring more and pumping a little quicker. That's good, do you need me? He asked. Yes. I need you. Naruto withdrew his finger. The foreplay is over. But first, Naruto extended his hand and took out their elegant alcoholic beverage. Straight out of the bottle, he took another swig. There was nothing else spoken. He got on top of the girl with the scarlet face. Both of them were inebriated and having a great time that night. Shizun eagerly absorbed Naruto, who held the barrel firmly with his right hand without any further assistance. Naruto peered through her barriers and saw her face pucker up in delight. Naruto moved when he realized he didn't have to wait. Up and down, in and out, till he had the beat he desired. He had hardly begun before she began to whimper beneath him. Shizun had a hard night and most likely a lengthy morning. Shizun's pussy gripped Naruto. As he increased his speed, it extended her tunnels, descending farther. They clapped as their skin repeatedly touched. Shizun groaned as she gripped Naruto and used her fingernails to scratch at his back. Finally locating what he sought, Naruto accelerated his pace. It was flawless. He could tell Shizun adored it as he dug deeper into her canal. As he started to drive in and out, she tugged at his back, attempting to hang on. Shizun was aware of every detail. How Naruto's penis pushed and prodded her abdomen. He was using laser-like precision to strike every possible location. Her head was trapped when his hands fell close to it. The passion clouded his eyes, and she peered into them. Please, can I? Shizun interceded, her jaw dropped. Naruto was aware of her desires. As he moved his tongue inside her mouth, he leaned down and continued to dig her out. Because they are constantly moving and trembling, their lips and tongue meet sloppy and wet. Naru-sama. Ah, you're so deep inside. He smirked at her and asked, is it too much for you? She answered, no, I can take it. He slowed down after saying, I know. He shifted to a powerful, deep, and slow push inside. He would crash back down after pulling out, leaving only the tip within. Shizun's breasts would jiggle a little when she jumped. Because she had been folding her legs so hard that her toes had long since gone numb, she could feel them trembling in the air. Naruto would stoop to kiss and suck her throat. He would inquire whether it felt good while whispering in her ear. When he jammed himself all the way in, she would shake her head or groan louder. Naruto thought it was time for a change. He pulled Shizun's legs back and adjusted her. He enjoys watching the initial panic, so when he does this posture, they always lose it. Shizun was still ready to go all the way, but his legs were now behind her head. No, move your hands. But Naruto-sama, she whimpered as Shizun pushed him back with her hands raised on his chest. Naruto held both of her hands over her head with one hand and said, didn't I tell you? Tonight you're mine. And that means everything. Her whole body shook with anticipation, and he could feel her legs growing weak. He dove right in. His balls were left hanging outdoors. She screamed out loud. Shizun whimpered and wriggled with delight. This time, Naruto didn't slow down. Instead, he relentlessly pounded her cunt. Repeatedly hitting her vulnerable area. Never absent, Naruto was discovered hammering away. Soon after, there was clapping and more moist noises as their crotches repeatedly touched. Shizun was the first to come and squirt everything on herself and him. However, Naruto persisted in pushing her over the edge. That's so good, master, you're fucking me so good. Leaning down, he gave her a kiss. Am I? So, good, the best. He grinned. Naruto placed his palm over her throat and gave her a slight squeeze. As he entered her moist walls, he smothered her. I'm going to come, Shizu. The response was clear. Can I have it inside? Please please please, I'm ready for you, my lord, it was. He was going to fill her womb with his seed with just a few more thrusts. Her eyes crossed and her tongue dropped out of her mouth. Once again, Naruto clamped down on her neck, thrusting all the way in and sending his sperm into Shizun. Tighter than she had been all night, she clamped down on him. When he had finished grunting and she had stopped moaning, Shizun lowered her head into the bed. She no longer wore her hair properly, it was wild now. As their mating had reached its peak, her face was as wet and slippery with perspiration as Naruto's. They locked gaze and gave each other another kiss. Let's go again, turn around for me. Shizun swiveled around, gripping the headboard for balance. She swayed her hips and glanced back. Naruto whacked her ass and watched as it hypnotically rippled. He spanked her ass once again as she yelled and continued to wiggle her hips. My Shizun-chan, you've turned into a really dirty girl. When we first had sex, you were so quiet and meek. Now look at you, moaning and screaming like a whore. That's on you, my lord. You've corrupted me. Leaning over her back, He took her chin in his palms and said, "Ha ha, I did, didn't I? Turning you, making you mine. But you like that, right?" She smiled and kissed his lips, saying, "I do." Naruto leaned back and took hold of her hips, saying, "I know. All night." He pushed his way as far inside as he could. They would relish their seclusion in the ensuing love tonight.
So this was the end of the series. I hope you enjoyed it. To watch more series like this, subscribe to my channel. Till then, we weeb offline.